The island that Wu Bei's cave was situated in was filled with experts. Atop the island at the highest point of the sky, there was a floating lofty golden hall that was concealed by the power of spacetime. The big hall was filled with many strong auras, and every aura was strong enough to earn the respect of real gods. At the highest part of the big hall, there were a total of 20 long, narrow tables. Behind the table sat a figure. For these 20 figures, every single one of them was a super existence who could cause a sanctuary to shiver with fear with a stamp of their feet. These 20 figures were all almighties. Close to 20 almighties were present in the big hall. Apart from the almighties, the remaining people were experts who represented the big forces of every area. This included Lei Chao, who represented the lineage of Star. However, all the experts belonged to the lower part of the big hall. Many experts were drinking wine and having a conversation at the same time. At that moment, among the almighties, the expression of a red-haired old man with one horn on his forehead changed, and he laughed. "I have just gotten news that the 5th white blaze fruit has appeared, and it was obtained by Jian Wushuang of the lineage of Star. Ever since the news of Wu Bei's cave got out, many universe gods started to search for the white blaze fruit in the cave. To date, 4 white blaze fruits have been found, and adding the white blaze fruit that Jian Wushuang found, there were only a total of 5 fruits. The people in the big hall started a discussion immediately. Jian Wushuang? From the lineage of Star. I know about this Jian Wushuang. Previously, he had no reputation. However, 400 years ago, he defeated Ling Dan, who ranked 39th on the Universe God ranking list with 1 stroke. After that, he defeated the 7-planet palace master of the 7-planet palace. With this, he became famous. Indeed, he has the ability of a top 20 member of the Universe God ranking list. This little kid has only entered Wu Bei's cave for a few days. However, he actually obtained a white blaze fruit. His luck is not too bad. Lei Chao, Jian Wushuang is part of the lineage of Star. Since you are currently representing the lineage of Star, do you have anything to say?" A good number of experts in the big hall looked toward Lei Chao. However, Lei Chao said indifferently, "There's nothing for me to say. If one wishes to get a white blaze fruit in Wu Bei's cave, it is highly dependent on their luck." On the surface, Lei Chao said that Jian Wushuang had obtained the white blaze fruit due to luck. However, in actual fact, he knew very well that the fact that Jian Wushuang was able to obtain a white blaze fruit was not merely due to luck. After all, he knew Jian Wushuang's real identity, where Jian Wushuang was an inverse cultivator. For an inverse cultivator, it was much easier for him to search for iron wing beasts in Wu Bei's cave as compared to the other universe gods. Hence, his chances of getting white blaze fruits would naturally be higher. I heard that when Jian Wushuang obtained the white blaze fruit, he was seen by a few universe gods. Those universe gods overestimated themselves and wanted to snatch the white blaze fruit away from Jian Wushuang. In the end, they were killed by Jian Wushuang. The red-haired old man and a few almighties who were in the highest part of the hall talked and laughed. "That Jian Wushuang has some connections to me. He has stayed in my Sky Sword prison for a period of time." The owner of the Sky Sword Mountain who sat with the almighties spoke. "Oh." A few almighties around the owner of the Sky Sword Mountain looked toward him with interest. "It was Hall Master Yuan of the lineage of Star who requested me to imprison him in the Sky Sword prison. The lineage of Star even paid a price for this. However, that little kid is indeed quite talented. When he was first imprisoned in the Sky Sword prison, his abilities were normal within the Sky Sword prison. Despite that, in just 4,000 years, he relied on his own abilities to kill 10 real gods and came out from the Sky Sword prison. He is indeed a genius," the owner of the Sky Sword Mountain said. "In a mere 4,000 years? His improvement speed is so fast?" The almighties also knew about the owner of the Sky Sword Mountain Sky Sword prison. Hence, they knew very well how frightening Jian Wushuang's improvement speed was. However, they were only slightly surprised and not too concerned. To them who stood at the top, Jian Wushuang was just a little kid at the level of Universe God. No matter how talented he would be unable to draw their attention unless it was someone under them. They only mentioned Jian Wushuang at that moment because they were having a random conversation to pass time. Lei Chao. The eyes of the owner of the Sky Sword Mountain looked down. "Your lord?" Lei Chao greeted him with a bow immediately. Previously, Jian Wushuang requested me to release an expert who was imprisoned in the Sky Sword prison, but I declined. However, now, tell him that he can release whoever he wants as long as he brings me 2 white blaze fruits. The owner of the Sky Sword Mountain said. Lei Chao's expression changed. The Almighties around the area looked toward the owner of the Sky Sword Mountain in succession. Sky Sword? Isn't that too much? That's right. Could it be that you imprisoned a real god of the 2nd stage in the Sky Sword prison? Even if that were the case, a real god of the 2nd stage is not worth 2 white blaze fruits. At best, 1 white blaze fruit should be enough. Sky Sword, you are a bit too greedy. A few Almighties spoke in succession. Everyone, the owner of the Sky Sword Mountain looked at everyone around him and said with a laugh, everyone should be able to tell that the fight for the white blaze fruit this time round is not as simple as we think. It has only just begun and 5 white blaze fruits have appeared already. If I'm not wrong, when the fight ends, at least 50 or even more white blaze fruits will appear. For so many white blaze fruits to appear in such a short period of time, the price of the white blaze fruit will naturally not be as shocking as it was in the past. That makes sense. The Almighties around the area agreed in succession. Items were only expensive as they were rare. Previously, it was extremely rare to come across a white blaze fruit even after many years. Hence, the white blaze fruit would naturally be extremely precious. However, if tens of white blaze fruits were to appear in a short period of time, the white blaze fruits would naturally be not worth as much. Even though the white blaze fruits were not worth as much, they were still very valuable, and it was enough for Almighties like them to have their eyes on it. Lei Chao, send a message to that little kid as per what I have said. Of course, in the end, it will depend on how many white blaze fruits that little kid obtains. In short, no matter how many white blaze fruits he obtains in Wu Bei's cave, I only need 2 of them. The owner of the Sky Sword Mountain said with a laugh. That's more like it. All the Almighties beside him agreed in succession. Lei Chao nodded his head and started to transmit a message to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang. Lord Lei Chao, Jian Wushuang, who was in Wu Bei's cave, replied immediately. I heard that you already obtained your first white blaze fruit? Lei Chao questioned. Yes, I have obtained it. Lord Lei Chao, you managed to get this piece of news so quickly? Jian Wushuang was surprised. Haha. At the moment, the experts of many big forces of the 10 cultivation sanctuaries are all gathered together, including many of the Almighties. As soon as a new white blaze fruit appears, we will get the news immediately, Lei Chao said with a laugh. I see. Jian Wushuang understood. Jian Wushuang, the owner of the Sky Sword Mountain, is among the Almighties who have come, and he requested that I pass you a message. The owner of Sky Sword Mountain? Jian Wushuang was surprised. The owner of Sky Sword Prison said that you wanted him to release someone from the Sky Sword Prison once, but he didn't agree. Now, he has promised you that you can release anyone with 2 white blaze fruit, Lei Chao said. Oh, Jian Wushuang found it strange. Humph, to release a real god, 1 white blaze fruit is more than enough. He asked for 2. King of Venomous Worms humped in Jian Wushuang's head. You act at your own discretion. The 2 white blaze fruits are not definite. The owner of Sky Sword Mountain himself said it could be discussed, Lei Chao said. I understand. Jian Wushuang understood the situation. In Sky Sword Prison, Fiery King was still imprisoned. If possible, Jian Wushuang would figure out a way to bail Fiery King out. As for the white blaze fruit, it depended on the amount of white blaze fruit that he got after the grand fight banquet. He could decide then. Jian Wushuang, let me remind you that as we have received the news of you getting a white blaze fruit, various universe gods in Wu Bei's cave definitely will have received the news too. They know that you have a white blaze fruit with you, so it is inevitable that there will be an expert who wants to take it away from you. Hence, be careful. In Wu Bei's cave, there is quite a number of universe gods who are at a higher rank than you are. If you were to really be at a critical junction, give up white blaze fruit and save your own life, Lei Chao exhorted. Jian Wushuang nodded. He wasn't stupid either. He wouldn't really sacrifice his life for a white blaze fruit. After they cut off the connection, Jian Wushuang continued to wander around the cave dwelling. On the island where experts had gathered, the entrance to Wu Bei's cave was still wide open. There were universe gods from everywhere in 10 cultivation sanctuaries that entered one after another. At that very moment, there was a young man in a white robe carrying a saber on his back that had appeared on the island. The young man in the white robe had long brown hair, a pair of drowsy eyes, and a handsomely cold face. He was a man with a remarkable appearance. That's the entrance to Wu Bei's cave? During the years in 10 cultivation sanctuaries, I have been challenging experts from all over. However, the strongest that I've met is one who was close to Universe God ranking list. He didn't even make me have to give my all. But in Wu Bei's cave now, more than 80% of experts on Universe God ranking list are gathered here. This is a battlefield for true experts. It's a battlefield that belongs to me. The young man in a white robe looked at the cave dwelling below as his eyes shimmered with joy. I heard that Jian Wushuang is in Wu Bei's cave too. I hope I can meet him. With a faint smile, the young man in a white robe plunged down and entered Wu Bei's cave. There were many experts on the island who were astonished. Such swift speed. This speed seems to surpass ordinary real gods. Who is the person who went in just now? I don't know. He isn't an expert on Universe God ranking list. He should be a solo expert who isn't quite famous. The birth of Wu Bei's cave has led to the appearance of many universe gods who aren't famous before but very powerful. The person earlier was one of them. In Wu Bei's cave, the fight over the white blaze fruit was still ongoing. On the 4th day Jian Wushuang entered the cave dwelling, he found a white blaze fruit. But in the following 10 days, Jian Wushuang didn't even find one iron wing beast. On the 11th day, Hong! A vigorous roar spread. Although it was very far away, Jian Wushuang heard it at the very first instance. That direction! Jian Wushuang immediately locked into one direction and rushed over in an explosion of speed. When he appeared in the battlefield, he saw 4 universe gods joining forces to hem the iron wing beast in to kill it. The 4 universe gods besieged the iron wing beast and there were already wounds on it. Then, Jian Wushuang joined the battlefield straight away without hesitation. His participation shocked the other 4 universe gods and they immediately recognized Jian Wushuang. It's Jian Wushuang, top 20 on Universe God ranking list. Shit! Jian Wushuang dashed into the battlefield and the 4 universe gods didn't have the ability to stop him. They saw the eruption of Jian Wushuang's sword principle and his thunder-like techniques instantly killed the iron wing beast. However, after Jian Wushuang had killed the iron wing beast, he didn't see the existence of Chen Kuan Ring like the previous dead body. No white blaze fruit. The effort was in vain. Jian Wushuang smiled bitterly, but he had no choice. The iron wing beast in Wu Bei's cave. Not every one of them carried a white blaze fruit. After killing an iron wing beast, it depended on luck if there was a white blaze fruit or not. Swoosh! 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 A bunch of figures caught up with them. They were universe gods who rushed over due to the fighting. In addition to the 4 universe gods who had besieged the iron wing beast, there was a total of 10 people. The 10 of them scattered as they stared at Jian Wushuang. The 4 of us joined forces and we finally did injury to the iron wing beast with great difficulty. However, Mr. Jian Wushuang, you killed the iron wing beast on your own in an instant. You live up to your name as an expert in the top 20 on the Universe God ranking list. I admire you. One of the 4 universe gods who besieged the iron wing beast earlier, a brown-haired elderly said. There's no use if I killed it. There isn't any white blaze fruit in the iron wing beast's body. Jian Wushuang replied. The surrounding universe gods exchanged a look. They saw it themselves. Jian Wushuang really didn't get a Chen Kuan ring from the dead body of the iron wing beast. Although this iron wing beast doesn't have it, from what I know, Mr. Jian Wushuang killed an iron wing beast alone previously and took out a white blaze fruit from it. The brown-haired elderly suddenly said. Yes. Jian Wushuang nodded faintly and smiled. Why? Unless you're interested in the white blaze fruit that I got previously. I dare not. I am only casually bringing it up. I do not have the guts to take anything away from Mr. Jian Wushuang. Farewell. The brown-haired elderly said. then turned to leave. The other universe gods took another glance at Jian Wushuang, but they didn't have the courage to fight him. They left one after another. Most of them had received a reminder from the higher-ups of their sects. If they were to come across experts in the top 30 on the universe god ranking list, unless there were tens of universe gods to launch an attack together, or if there was another expert on the universe god ranking list to join the fight, they should leave immediately. Without sufficient formation strength, fighting over a white blaze fruit with a top 30 expert on universe god ranking list was simply courting death. 10 universe gods, there were 9 who left very quickly, but there was one who didn't leave. It was an ugly young man with dark skin. The young man carried a strange crimson saber on his back, and the aura that he gave out was quite wicked too. With a tinge of a chilly gleam, his gaze was fixed on Jian Wushuang. "Do you still have something for me?" Jian Wushuang looked at the ugly-looking man. "Jian Wushuang," the ugly-looking man spoke, "I am Zhou Cho of the Purple Feather Palace." "Purple Feather Palace?" Jian Wushuang shook his head slightly. There were countless sects in the 10 cultivation sanctuaries. However, Jian Wushuang had never heard of the Purple Feather Palace. Hence, it was obvious that the Purple Feather Palace was not considered a very powerful sect. "You might not have heard of me before. However, from today onward, you will know me. This is because I will use you as a stepping stone and get into the top 20 of the Universe God ranking list." The eyes of the ugly-looking man Zhou Cho were burning with excitement. "Oh!" Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. He understood that Zhou Cho's objective was not the white blaze fruit that he possessed. Instead, it was to fight him. "Before meeting you, I defeated Shi Wang, who was ranked 58th, and Suong, who was ranked 31st in the Universe God ranking list successively. Now, I only need to defeat you so that I can challenge the 10 monsters who are in the top 10 of the Universe God ranking list." Zhou Cho's loud voice reverberated across the area. After hearing what was said, Jian Wushuang's gaze turned serious and his expression also turned grave. If Zhou Cho had no fighting achievements previously and had only wanted to challenge him, Jian Wushuang would not be too concerned. However, at the moment, Zhou Cho had already defeated 2 experts in the Universe God ranking list consecutively. This included Suong, who was ranked 31st on the Universe God ranking list as well. Hence, Jian Wushuang could no longer take him lightly. "Jian Wushuang, show me your full strength and let me see how strong the top 20 of the Universe God ranking list is." With a shout, Zhou Cho, who stood in front of Jian Wushuang, made a move. Whoosh! The void in front of Jian Wushuang was torn open and Zhou Cho's body appeared immediately. As soon as Zhou Cho appeared, a shrill crimson saber light struck. Fast. It was so fast that it was unbelievable. Jian Wushuang's eyes shrank. During his course of training, he had met quite a number of experts. In particular, in the Sky Sword prison, he had fought with many experts, which included a few real gods, and some of them wielded a saber. However, among those experts, not many of them could use a saber with speed like Zhou Cho. Humph! Jian Wushuang gave a cold humph, and the Blood Mountain sword in his hands changed into electricity and clashed with the crimson saber light with lightning speed. During the clash, 2 divine power collided with one another. Jian Wushuang's Blood Mountain sword and Zhou Cho's crimson saber were pushed back to the point that they retreated slightly. 10,000 shadows! Jian Wushuang gave a loud cry. Rustle! 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 Countless sword lights burst forth and every one of them was terrifically fast. In addition, its power was frightening. "Ha-ha! Take this!" Zhou Cho laughed loudly. A great amount of horrifying saber essence, which could tear apart everything, rose and Zhou Cho's body changed into a sharp saber. The saber light was like ink and it attacked instantly. The saber light, which could cover the universe, was like a crimson saber river and it headed for Jian Wushuang. Clang! 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 Countless sounds of weapons clashing with one another could be heard. At that instant, in less than a breath's time, both of them had already clashed with one another hundreds of times. In such an intense battle, the Crimson Saber River, which was originally very dense, became even more dazzling. The speed of his saber skills is actually faster than mine? Jian Wushuang was shocked and his body moved. Swoosh! 9 shadows appeared at the same time, and Jian Wushuang's body had already appeared magically behind Zhou Chao's back. His shrill sword was like a crimson, glittering light which plunged across the void and headed straight for Zhou Chao's neck. "Piss off!" Zhou Chou turned his hand over and struck furiously. This stroke was strong. When it clashed with Jian Wushuang's sword principles, it actually forced Jian Wushuang to retreat 3 steps continuously. Jian Wushuang, as someone who is ranked 20th in the Universe God ranking list, your abilities are only as such? Zhou Chao's body was filled with murderous aura, and an enormous amount of saber essence was locked on to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang's eyes glowed with a fierce light. By activating his divine power crazily, his reincarnation power also activated the secret skill of the Bloodfeather reincarnation armor. 9th Heaven Stroke. A supreme sword essence burst forth in a great amount and shot up to the highest heavens. At that void, the Nemesis sword, a towering sword shadow which could destroy the world, descended. A fearsome power was putting pressure on the void. "Ha-ha! Good going." Zhou Chao's face was filled with excitement. After laughing, the crimson saber on his hands became even redder. A tremendous amount of crimson mist was released and the whole sky was dyed a scarlet color. Within the center of the crimson universe, Zhou Chou looked as if he had become the emperor of the universe. Crimson saber. Rustle. A captivating, brilliant saber light appeared out of thin air. The saber light was so unusually bewitching that it caused people to be charmed. When it was launched, it was as if everything in the universe had lost its color. In no time, the unusually bewitching saber light collided head-on with the towering sword shadow that Jian Wushuang had unleashed. Bam! A loud sound which shook the universe could be heard. At that moment when the sound was heard, a vast amount of divine power had already become frightening shockwaves which swept past all areas. Within the enormous divine power storm, a glittering light appeared. Thud! The glittering light landed on the ground directly without any hindrance, and it created a big hole instantly. It was as if the land had completely subsided. However, with a release of powerful divine power from the bottom of the hole, a huge amount of crushed stone was smashed into pieces. A figure then stood up again. It was Zhou Chou. Zhou Chou had an extremely red face and his eyes were filled with dissatisfaction. As he stood on the ground, he looked at the void above. At the top, Jian Wushuang had a cold expression, and he was putting his Blood Mountain sword into its sheath slowly. "You are indeed strong, and you will not have any problems getting into the top 30 of the Universe God ranking list. However, you are still a bit lacking if you wish to get into the top 20. After finishing talking, Jian Wushuang did not care about Zhou Chao's reaction. He turned his body straight away and left. Zhou Chou stood at his position. His body was shaking a little, and he did not refute Jian Wushuang's words. He was very clear that the clash moments ago had decided the outcome of the match between him and Jian Wushuang. He had lost. His sword principles were definitely not too strong. Compared to my saber skills, his sword principles are slightly more inferior. However, his divine power is unusually powerful, and it is 1 grade stronger than mine. His comprehension of the power of Heaven Wei also seems to be stronger than mine. Powerful divine power combined with the power of Heaven Wei. Even though his unique skills are slightly inferior to mine, he still managed to push me back. "I am not satisfied with this loss," Zhou Chou muttered. However, he didn't know that Jian Wushuang's divine power was not stronger than his by much. It was because of the secret skill of the Bloodfeather reincarnation armor that allowed Jian Wushuang's divine power to rise to the next level. As for the comprehension of the power of Heaven Wei, Jian Wushuang's comprehension of the reincarnation doctrine could already allow him to clear the first level of the Doctrine Palace. As for Zhou Chao's comprehension of the Heaven Wei, he was still lacking slightly. With the combination of these 2 factors, Jian Wushuang would definitely be stronger if the 2 of them fought one another. As expected, the experts in the top 20 of the Universe God ranking list would not go down so easily. Moreover, although Jian Wushuang has only just achieved the 20th position, he is this strong. Hence, those people whose rankings are higher than his are definitely stronger. With that, the distance between me and them is definitely still very big. Zhou Chou shook his head and left soon after. In the void, Jian Wushuang was traveling forward slowly, but he was astonished. Zhu Chou from earlier was really powerful, and he was very close to the top 20 on the Universe God ranking list. Such strong a Universe God. But he wasn't famous at all. Jian Wushuang complimented in silence. Jian Wushuang, you must understand that 10 cultivation sanctuaries is huge. There are so many experts, and not every expert is famous. There are experts who possess amazing power but have kept a low profile and hardly revealed their true power. Such experts remained unknown to the public. There are tons of them in 10 cultivation sanctuaries. The birth of Wu Bei's cave gathered most of the universe gods who were not famous here. Hence, don't belittle anyone just because he isn't famous or not listed on the universe god ranking list. King of Venomous Worms said. True. Zhu Chou, who popped out of nowhere, has the fighting power of one in the top 30 in universe god ranking list. Among the experts who are not famous but in Wu Bei's cave, there must be some who are stronger than Zhu Chou. I reckon some experts who could be compared favorably with the top 10 monsters might appear too. Jian Wushuang muttered. He could imagine that the universe god ranking list would definitely go through an unprecedented radical shakeup after the grand fight banquet. After making the fact known, Jian Wushuang became more careful and cautious with every action he took in Wu Bei's cave. The time flew past. Although Wu Bei's cave was extremely spacious, after the universe gods probed inch by inch, one iron wing beast was found after another and then killed. Even though most of the iron wing beasts had no white blaze fruits in their bodies, there were a few that had one. Once a white blaze fruit appeared, it would cause a fight. On the 13th day after Jian Wushuang had entered Wu Bei's cave, someone found the 6th white blaze fruit. The one who found the white blaze fruit was a universe god in the top 10 on universe god ranking list. Even though there were many universe gods around him who saw when he got the white blaze fruit, there was no one who had the guts to fight for it. Hence, the 6th white blaze fruit didn't cause a great commotion. On the 18th day, the 7th white blaze fruit appeared, and the white blaze fruit was in the hands of an ordinary universe god. The universe god just got it out of the iron wing beast's body, and the others killed it very soon. Then, it transformed into carnage immediately. After a ferocious battle, the white blaze fruit fell into the hands of an expert in the 27th place on the universe god ranking list. There were more than 100 universe gods who had died from the battle. Among the dead, there were 2 experts on universe god ranking list that passed away. It was extremely mad. On the 20th day after Jian Wushuang had entered Wu Bei's cave, Lei Chao sent him updated news. The monster on the 2nd place on universe god ranking list, King Jin Wu, came. Since then, the 10 monsters on the universe god ranking list, there were a total of 7 that were there. After Jian Wushuang had wandered in Wu Bei's cave for a month, shocking news suddenly spread. Demon girl Ling Luo, who was on the 3rd place on universe god ranking list, was challenged by a mysterious man in Wu Bei's cave, and she was defeated and killed on the spot. When the news spread, it immediately stirred a mighty uproar in Wu Bei's cave. The top 10 on the universe god ranking list, also known as the 10 monsters. They were widely recognized as the scariest 10 people out of all of the universe gods. To be able to be in the top 3 on the universe god ranking list, they were surely the monsters of the monsters. Such monsters could easily kill a real god, and their power made one hopeless. However, the monster on the 3rd place on universe god ranking list had lost to a person who wasn't famous at all. It was naturally astonishing. Outside the island, in the lofty palace, where many almighties and representatives of each forces and sects had gathered. Compared to a month before, there was obviously more experts in the palace. Even almighties, there were about 25 almighties on the scene. At that very moment, the experts were all discussing demon girl Ling Luo being defeated. The superb genius in 3rd place on universe god ranking list, she lost just like that. We guessed earlier that there would definitely be a radical shakeup on the universe god ranking list. However, the monsters in the top 10 shouldn't change much, especially the top 3. Who would have guessed that before the opening of Wu Bei's cave in 2 months' time, one of the top 3 would already be defeated? The mysterious man who defeated demon girl Ling Luo? Who was it? Any names? No. According to the news I heard, The mysterious man didn't announce his name when he challenged demon girl Ling Luo but instantly took action. He uses a knife as his weapon. His knife principle is so terrifying. He comprehended darkness doctrine and massacre doctrine of nine heaven god doctrine at the same time. His darkness doctrine definitely possesses the ability to pass the first level of Doctrine Palace. Although his comprehension towards massacre doctrine has not reached the first level, it's about there. TSK comprehended two powers of Heaven Way at the same time and with such a high comprehension level. He's so impressive. From the opening of Wu Bei's cave until now, there have been quite a number of experts who weren't famous before that revealed surprising power in the cave. There were many who possessed the fighting powers of one on the Universe God ranking list. However, the mysterious man who used a knife should be the strongest. Real gods from each force were chatting among themselves. In a higher place in the palace, the 25 almighties scattered around. Tower Master Chi Fu, the latest Universe God ranking list? Have you sorted it out yet? A red-haired elderly with a unicorn on his forehead asked casually. Don't be in a hurry. Tower Master Chi Fu shook his head and smiled. The grand banquet has just started. A ferocious fight leads to a radical shakeup of Universe God ranking list. It isn't easy for Vientiane Tower to tidy them up. Plus, although there are some people who have revealed their powers, Vientiane Tower has yet to find out their true identity. Just like the young man who defeated Ling Luo, Vientiane Tower has yet to find out who he is. How do we announce the list? That's true. The red-haired elderly nodded faintly. Wait a little while more. When the list is sorted, we naturally will announce it, Tower Master Chi Fu said. In Wu Bei's cave, Jian Wushuang had already received the news of demon girl Ling Luo being defeated. Awesome guy. He could even shake the monster on the third place on Universe God ranking list. Out of the Universe Gods who came to Wu Bei's cave, there are so many hidden talents. Jian Wushuang complimented in silence. He knew long ago that many experts who weren't famous would come to join the grand banquet, just like the few people he had found out from Lei Chao previously. Although they weren't listed on the Universe God ranking list, they were suspected to possess fighting powers like one in the top 10 of Universe God ranking list. But the person who had appeared then was the most eye-catching one. He plunged into the top 3 on the Universe God ranking list with one attack. It seems that if I hadn't cultivated in Real God Hall for 4 months and mastered a slight bit of power of spacetime, my position as the 20th on the Universe God ranking list would be quite difficult to maintain, Jian Wushuang muttered. Just then, Jian Wushuang, where are you now? Lei Chao sent a message abruptly, and it was obvious that his voice was filled with anxiousness. I am at this place. Is there something wrong? Jian Wushuang informed Lei Chao of his location immediately. Quick, head toward your northwest. Longya is in that direction and he is currently being pursued by someone. Please go over to save him at once. Lei Chao said continuously. Longya is being pursued? Jian Wushuang was stunned. In the fight for the White Blaze fruit this time round, all 3 disciples of the lineage of Star who had made it into the Universe God ranking list had come. However, in Wu Bei's cave, the 3 of them were separated. Jian Wushuang had been acting alone, and it seemed that Longya, as well as Xianxia, had been doing the same. Could it be that Longya has obtained a White Blaze fruit? Jian Wushuang questioned. That's right. In a stroke of luck, he managed to get 1 White Blaze fruit. However, he was targeted by quite a number of experts, and he is currently using the secret skill of Dragon Blood to escape with all his might. However, the secret skill of Dragon Blood uses up divine power at a very fast rate and it will not last long. Xianxia has also made his way over. However, you are the closest to Longya. I will inform Longyu to escape in your direction and he might still make it, Lei Chao said. All right. I will head there straight away. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate and he unleashed his speed. Even he himself unleashed the first stage of the secret skill of Dragon Blood and plunged toward the direction of Longya. In a vast void, swish, a glittering light was escaping with an amazing speed. However, a short distance behind him, there was a black, dim light giving chase and its speed was quite fast as well. Jerk! There were many bloodstains on Longya and he looked very miserable. After he shot a glance at the black, dim light behind him, his expression turned extremely ugly. Previously, his luck was good and he had managed to get a white blaze fruit during a fight that many universe gods had participated in. After getting the white blaze fruit, he used the secret skill of dragon blood to escape straight away. Initially, he had thought that by relying on the secret skill of dragon blood, he would be able to lose all the universe gods. However, he totally did not expect to come across a fearsome guy while escaping. At that moment, Long Ya's divine power was being used up rapidly. By relying on the second stage of the secret skill of dragon blood, his speed had already risen by more than 100 times. Yet, he was still unable to lose the black dim light behind him. He was not like Jian Wushuang, who had the king of venomous worms attached to him to help him replenish his divine power. Since Long Ya's divine power was being depleted at a very fast rate, he would not be able to maintain his speed for much longer. I have exhausted 70% of my divine power and I only have 30% left. At best, I can only last for 1/8 of an hour more. Long Ya clenched both his fists tightly. For a normal, intense battle, 1/8 of an hour was considered long. However, to Long Ya, who was escaping, it was too short. Eh? Long Ya's expression changed abruptly. He had already received Lei Chao's message and got the information that Jian Wushuang was rushing over. At the same time, he also got to know Jian Wushuang's location. Great! Long Ya was delighted. He did not hesitate and immediately escaped in the direction of Jian Wushuang. As for that black, dim light, it followed him persistently like before. As time passed, his divine power decreased rapidly. Previously, he had already used up 70%. Eventually, it became 80% and then 90%. When he had depleted 90% of his divine power, Long Ya finally started to panic. He's not here yet. Jian Wushuang is not here yet. Long Ya's body was shivering. He felt that he had exhausted all the divine power in the body. I cannot last any longer. Long Ya felt helpless. He then turned his head and shouted, Universe God Xiongfu, I will give you the white blaze fruit. Please stop chasing me. Ha ha! A loud and earth-shaking laugh could be heard from the black, dim light. If you had given me that white blaze fruit from the start, I would not have made things difficult for you. However, you are about to run out of steam. Lowering your head now is too late. By killing you, that white blaze fruit will still be mine. Moreover, I can also get all the treasures you possess. Why wouldn't I do it? After all, I won't need to use too much effort. Bastard! I am a disciple of the Star Palace. Long Ya bellowed. Don't use Star Palace disciple to frighten me. My Heaven Axe Divine Palace is not afraid of your lineage of star. Universe God Xiongfu, who was within the black light, sneered. Long Ya's expression turned even paler. He had already reached the state where the divine power in his body was completely used up. Without sufficient divine power to last, Long Ya's speed decreased greatly. Haha, Long Ya, die! Cruel laughter resounded across the horizon, and the black light appeared behind Long Ya. Long Ya's gaze turned serious. With a flip of his palm, the white blaze fruit appeared in his hands. What followed after that was him tossing the white blaze fruit in a random direction without hesitation. The white blaze fruit? The expression of Universe God Xiongfu, who had reached the back of Long Ya, changed slightly. After that, he immediately changed his direction and plunged toward the white blaze fruit. In no time, Universe God Xiongfu caught up with the white blaze fruit and he grabbed it with his hands. Humph! Do you think you can escape from me just like that? After keeping the white blaze fruit into a Chen Kuan ring, Universe God Xiongfu's icy-cold eyes locked on to Long Ya, who was continuing his escape. With a flash of murderous intent, he gave chase again. It was obvious that Universe God Xiongfu would only let the matter drop when he had killed Long Ya. However, at that moment, in the void in front of Long Ya, a black dot appeared out of thin air. Moreover, the black dot was getting bigger with a shocking speed. Jian Wushuang. Long Ya was over the moon and he relied on his last bit of divine power to head toward Jian Wushuang. The two of them finally met. Rustle. Jian Wushuang stood in front of Long Ya straight away. Long Ya had collapsed completely and his aura had become extremely weak. Swoosh! The black light which had followed behind Long Ya stopped as well. The dim light dissipated, revealing a cruel-looking man who wore black armor. The cruel-looking man's hands were carrying one big axe each. At that moment, he was looking toward Jian Wushuang with interest. "Longya, are you all right?" Jian Wushuang shot a glance toward Longya, who was behind him. "This is not enough to make me die. I have merely exhausted my divine power. Also, the white blaze fruit has fallen into the hands of universe god Xiongfu," Longya said in a low voice, and his eyes filled with flames of fury. "I have some elixirs with me. Take them immediately to regain your divine power." Jian Wushuang tossed a few elixirs over to Longya. The elixirs were obtained by Jian Wushuang from the real gods who he had killed back in the Sky Sword prison. The effects of the elixirs were impressive as well. "All right." Longya nodded his head seriously. Without hesitation, he swallowed the elixirs with one gulp and started to recover his divine power at once. Jian Wushuang's eyes turned, and he looked at the cruel-looking man who was wearing black armor. Universe god Xiongfu. Jian Wushuang's eyes squinted slightly. Universe god Xiongfu was ranked 9th on the Universe God ranking list. The most outstanding genius disciple of the current generation in the Heaven Axe Divine Palace. He was also acknowledged as one of the 10 monsters by the Eternal Chaotic World. To date, this was the very first expert in the top 10 of the Universe God ranking list that Jian Wushuang had come across. In the void, as the breeze howled, the air seemed to freeze. Jian Wushuang's gaze was cold as he fixed his eyes upon Universe God Xiongfu. In Wu Bei's cave, many universe gods were fighting one another madly for white blaze fruits. The one who was killed in the fight could only blame himself for being weak. He can't blame anyone else. Jian Wushuang's voice was cold. Universe god Xiongfu, if Longya were to seize the white blaze fruit and be unwilling to give it to you, I could understand if you were to kill him. However, Longya gave you the white blaze fruit, but you're still coming after him to kill him. Isn't this a little ridiculous? Ridiculous. Universe god Xiongfu lifted the corners of his lips and smiled. In this world, there's no right and wrong. There's only strong and weak. As I am stronger than him, so what if I am being ridiculous? Jian Wushuang, you should be glad that your ranking on the Universe God ranking list isn't low. I am not confident that I can kill you. Otherwise, not only Longya, but also you, with a white blaze fruit, will have to die here today. Universe god Xiongfu knew Jian Wushuang had a white blaze fruit too. However, Jian Wushuang wasn't weak. Although he was at the 9th place on Universe God ranking list, it was not definite if he could kill Jian Wushuang. If so, I am really lucky. Jian Wushuang smiled coldly and his gaze turned cold too. But I'd really like to know just how amazing the 9th place on Universe God ranking list is. Why? Want to try? Universe god Xiongfu smirked and looked at Jian Wushuang in disdain. He wasn't sure if he could kill Jian Wushuang, but in terms of power, he didn't see Jian Wushuang as his match. After all, between the top 10 and the top 20 on Universe God ranking list, there was a vast difference. Just as the two of them were going to launch an attack, there was a huge crowd that appeared in the void before them. Those people were the universe gods who were fighting over the white blaze fruit with Longya earlier. But as their speed wasn't fast enough, they only caught up then. Including the universe gods who were attracted by the chase, there was a total of almost 100 people. With almost 100 universe gods, although there weren't any experts on the Universe God ranking list, if they were to join forces, it would still be a rather fierce fighting force. Universe god Xiongfu and Jian Wushuang? The universe gods who caught up looked at the two of them in astonishment. Especially when they saw Jian Wushuang, the universe gods looked shocked. Jian Wushuang was holding a white blaze fruit. Then they noticed Longya, who was extremely weak, standing behind Jian Wushuang. Longya, pass us the white blaze fruit. Pass us the white blaze fruit. Otherwise, you have to die. Continuous roars were heard one after another. The universe gods locked gazes on Longya. Longya clenched his teeth and roared. The white blaze fruit that I've gotten is in universe god Xiongfu's hands. Ha! The universe gods looked at universe god Xiongfu again. He's right. I do have a white blaze fruit in my hand. Universe god Xiongfu smiled maliciously. However, I'm not the only one with a white blaze fruit on hand. Jian Wushuang has one too. So, you'd better think it through if you want the white blaze fruit in my hand or the one in Jian Wushuang's hand. Or maybe, you can figure out a way to make the both of us stay back. Universe God Xiong Fu obviously sounded bold in his speech. The surrounding 100 universe gods immediately drowned in deep thoughts. One-on-one, they definitely weren't Jian Wushuang or Universe God Xiong Fu's match. They definitely had to join forces. Even if they were to join forces, 100 peak universe gods in the third heaven joining forces. Although their fighting power would be fierce, it would be unrealistic to make both Jian Wushuang and Universe God Xiong Fu stay. Hence, they could only choose one. Universe God Xiong Fu and Jian Wushuang. One was 9th on the Universe God ranking list and the latter one on the 20th. Even an idiot would know how to choose. Jian Wushuang, give us the white blaze fruit. An elderly in a red robe who obviously had a stronger aura compared to the other universe gods roared. The other universe gods looked over at Jian Wushuang at the same time and their gazes were cold. On the other hand, Universe God Xiong Fu looked at the sight with interest but didn't intend to get involved. Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes slightly. It seems that they are treating me like a soft persimmon, Jian Wushuang muttered. Well, Universe God Xiong Fu is in the 9th place on Universe God ranking list, which is a higher rank than mine. Under normal circumstances, his power should definitely be stronger than mine. Jian Wushuang, give us the white blaze fruit and we will let you leave with Xianxia. Otherwise, both you and Xianxia have to die here, the elderly in red robe continued. With all of you? Jian Wushuang stole a glance at the elderly in red robe. You're courting death. The elderly in red robe was raging with anger. He bellowed, "Go, kill him! Kill!" The surrounding 100 universe gods instantly erupted with a terrifying murderous intention, and the figures plunged forward simultaneously. Normally, if only a few of them ran into Jian Wushuang alone, they definitely wouldn't dare to make a plan on Jian Wushuang's white blaze fruit. But then, they weren't afraid. After all, there were almost 100 of universe gods, and they were all peak universe gods in the third heaven. Although there weren't any experts on universe god ranking list, with them joining forces, even Universe God Xiong Fu, who was on the 9th place on Universe God ranking list, could only avoid them, let alone Jian Wushuang. Die! These universe gods were soaring with murderous intention. But then, Jian Wushuang's face was extremely cold. I do not want to carry out a massacre. But this time, you are the one courting death. Jian Wushuang gave a chilly glare and a boundless soul power swept out instantly. The bolt of soul power turned into a crimson phoenix in the void directly. The crimson phoenix flapped its wings, then it turned into flowing lights and rained. As the crimson phoenix's feather turned into crimson flowing lights, they immersed into the almost 100 of universe gods' bodies without hindrance. Then, they pierced through the universe gods' sea of consciousness like sharp thorns. Almost 100 universe gods were soaring with murderous intention earlier. But then, more than half of them revealed a terrified expression. Then, their gazes grew dim. Walala! Just like rain, out of almost 100 of universe gods, 60 of them fell to the ground straight away. There was over 30 remaining universe gods. Although they forcefully endured the soul attack, they could feel the piercing pain from their consciousnesses. Then, Blood Mountain Sword already appeared in Jian Wushuang's hand. Looking at the remaining 30 universe gods before him that were still in astonishment, there was a flash of murderous intention in Jian Wushuang's eyes as his figure suddenly became illusionary. Rustle! 9 shadows appeared at the same time. Jian Wushuang's body became like a ghost's, and he appeared in front of the red-robed old man instantly. The red-robed old man was the strongest out of the universe gods, and his fighting capabilities were almost comparable to that of the experts in the universe god ranking list. However, he was attacked by Jian Wushuang's soul attack. Before his consciousness was able to settle down, Jian Wushuang did a random stroke. The sword cut open the air and swept past the nape of the red-robed old man. The red-robed old man's head was sent flying. Following that, Jian Wushuang's body moved again and he shuttled back and forth within the crowd. Swoosh! 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 While shuttling back and forth, icy-cold sword lights were unleashed one after another, and every sword light was so chilly that it was fearsome. In a split second, A breath's time had passed, and among the remaining 30 universe gods, 16 of them had been killed by Jian Wushuang. The remaining universe gods, whose numbers made up to less than 20, were dumbstruck by the crazy massacre occurring in front of them. Run, run, run away quickly. He's too scary. He's not human, he's a demon. The universe gods escaped with all their might. In just a short amount of time, apart from Jian Wushuang and Longya, universe god Xiongfu was the only person still alive and standing at his location. Clap, clap, clapping sounds could be heard. Universe god Xiongfu was clapping his hands and walking toward Jian Wushuang at the same time. Brilliant, really brilliant. Universe god Xiongfu giggled. I did not expect you, Jian Wushuang, to actually be proficient in consciousness attacks. Moreover, your way of using the consciousness attacks is so impressive. This has really widened my perspective. Jian Wushuang was squinting his eyes slightly. Although he was proficient in consciousness attacks, this information was not in the universe god ranking list. Hence, there were not many people in Wu Bei's cave who knew about this trick of his. If not, the universe gods from before would not have the guts to find trouble with him. After all, numbers were the least concern of experts who excelled in consciousness attacks. Jian Wushuang's force of soul had achieved the highest level of a universe god. By using Crimson Phoenix, a soul attack with his full strength, unless the consciousness of his opponent had also reached the highest level of a universe god, he would be unable to block it. As for those universe gods numbering close to 100 previously, over 60 of them were killed in a short while, and only 30 of them, whose consciousnesses had reached the highest level of a universe god, survived. However, there were merely 30 universe gods. With Jian Wushuang's martial art motion, there was only room for them to be massacred. In addition, Blood Phoenix of the Five Beasts Soul Manipulation knack was an attack to attack a large group of people. In a one-to-one match, if Jian Wushuang had used the soul attack with his full power, even a consciousness which had reached the highest level of a universe god would be unable to block it, unless the consciousness of the other party had achieved the level of a real god. The people in the way have been taken care of. Now it's your turn. Jian Wushuang looked toward universe god Xiongfu. You wish to fight? Bring it on. Universe god Xiongfu had nothing to fear. Long Fu, please stay to one side, Jian Wushuang said. Understood. Long Yan nodded his head and retreated far away immediately. In the huge void, only Jian Wushuang and universe god Xiongfu remained. I wish to see exactly how strong a person like you, who is ranked 9th on the universe god ranking list, is. Jian Wushuang's eyes turned cold and 9 shadows appeared at once. At that moment when he moved his body, Jian Wushuang's eyes glowed with a dense crimson light. The crimson light was like a crimson sun. The scarlet color was dazzling and extremely charming. Even universe god Xiongfu could not help but be captivated by the crimson sun. All of a sudden, the 18 Azura hell descended. A phantasmagoria? Universe god Xiongfu frowned. He was already in the phantasmagoria. Break! With a shout, universe god Xiongfu broke out of the phantasmagoria immediately. His consciousness had already reached the level of a real god. Although Jian Wushuang's phantasmagoria was strong, it was unable to affect him. However, the moment he got out of the phantasmagoria, he realized that Jian Wushuang's body had already appeared in front of him. At the same time, scarlet sword light headed toward him like crimson lightning. It was the real god's unique skill that Jian Wushuang had created, crimson light. Humph! Universe god Xiongfu gave a cold hum. He swung his right hand abruptly and a giant axe shadow brought the power of the universe around the area. The power was so enormous and mighty, it was as if the whole universe was being oppressed. Clang! With a loud sound, a great force caused Jian Wushuang to shake and stagger. In the end, he retreated a few steps continuously. Ha ha! Universe god Xiongfu laughed sardonically. He then used both his hands and swung the 2 giant axes at the same time. The 2 giant axes were swung continuously and endlessly with every swing containing terrifying power. Jian Wushuang had already activated the secret skill of the Blood Feather Reincarnation armor. He had also released his divine power fully. With that, he swung his long sword continuously to fight. However, As he clashed with the giant axes time after time, the horrifying strength shook Jian Wushuang to the point that his arms felt some pain. What great power! I have already activated the secret skill of the Blood Feather Reincarnation armor. However, I actually cannot match him in terms of strength. Jian Wushuang was shocked. When his divine power was combined with the secret skill of the Blood Feather Reincarnation armor, his divine power would not be inferior to that of a genuine real god by much. However, he was actually unable to match Universe God Xiongfu. Jian Wushuang, are your abilities only as such? The eyes of Universe God Xiongfu, who was swinging his giant axes crazily to push back Jian Wushuang, shone with a fierce light. You actually dare to fight me with this kind of strength? You are really overestimating yourself. Buzz. Blood chi burst forth from Universe God Xiongfu's body all of a sudden. His aura became even more fierce and violent. In addition, the power that his giant axes contained increased as well. Universe God Xiongfu had gotten his name due to his ferocity. His axe skills were absurd and fierce. However, at that moment, Jian Wushuang's eyes squinted. He then displayed the small portion of the power of spacetime that he had comprehended. Buzz! Initially, Jian Wushuang relied on martial art motion to create the 9 shadows. However, at that moment, with the addition of the small portion of the power of spacetime, Jian Wushuang had created a total of 18 shadows. Secret skill Flowing Light Phantom, Stage 3. This martial art motion secret skill was directed against spacetime. At the first stage and second stage, there were not much requirement of the spacetime doctrine. However, at stage 3, the practitioner had to possess a small bit of the power of spacetime in order to use it. Jian Wushuang had grasped a small portion of the power of spacetime. When he was moving around alone in Wu Bei's cave previously, he did not come across any opponents who were exceptionally strong. His strongest opponent was Zhu Chou. However, Zhu Chou only possessed fighting capabilities to get into the top 30s of the Universe God ranking list. Hence, he was unable to force Jian Wushuang to use the power of spacetime. It was until the very moment where he fought Universe God Xiongfu that Jian Wushuang did not conceal any of his abilities. Instead, he unleashed his full power. By using the power of spacetime, a total of 18 shadows were created. His martial art motion and the speed that he could move in an instant were brought to a new level at that moment. This speed, Universe God Xiongfu was astonished. He was also surprised by the speed that Jian Wushuang had unleashed all of a sudden. Universe God Xiongfu, aren't you powerful in terms of strength? I shall not compete with you in strength. Instead, I will rely on speed to kill you. Jian Wushuang was filled with murderous intent. Wow! A total of 18 shadows, and every one of them was as swift as a ghost. Jian Wushuang's figure instantly appeared before Universe God Xiongfu, and a crimson sword light slashed at his skull. The speed was really too fast. One who was as strong as Universe God Xiongfu could only swing out the huge axe in a flurry to block. Dang! A loud noise and the 18 shadows were cast out again. Jian Wushuang appeared behind Universe God Xiongfu again and wielded his sword at lightning speed again. Jian Wushuang's speed and martial art motion exploded. He moved around Universe God Xiongfu and constantly performed sword principles to attack Universe God Xiongfu's vital parts. Although Universe God Xiongfu was powerful, dealing with such creepy martial art motion at such speed, he could only think of ways to block Jian Wushuang's sword principle attack for the time being. He looked like he was in a fix. Bastard! There was an angry roar and there was fire churning in Universe God Xiongfu's eyes. However, there was a soaring rage that flowed from his body suddenly. He was like a living beast. An enormous amount of divine power concentrated in the huge axe in his hands. Suddenly, the 2 huge axes swung out and the surrounding void was covered in the axe shadow. He only wanted to pressure me with force. Humph! Jian Wushuang's gaze turned cold and he wielded Blood Mountain's sword suddenly. It collided with the 2 axes' shadows. Under the attack of the divine power, he took a few steps back. However, the moment he steadied himself, the figure plunged out again. Want to suppress me by relying on force itself? You must be dreaming. Jian Wushuang's gaze was cold. He used the power of spacetime and burst his martial art motion entirely. Universe God Xiong Fu couldn't catch up to his speed at all. Hence, Universe God Xiong Fu wanted to rely on his strength to forcefully fight him off till he became heavily injured. Just like the saying, one force loses 10 strokes. However, Universe God Xiong Fu didn't know that Jian Wushuang might not be able to compare favorably with him in terms of power, but they weren't too far apart. Merely a small difference in power, and he intended to suppress Jian Wushuang. It was impossible. Plus, even if Jian Wushuang were to be fought off, he would plunge forward again the very next moment. Your martial art motion, speed, and even close combat power are far behind me. You are only slightly stronger in terms of strength. How dare you behave so recklessly before me? Just stand here and be my living target. Jian Wushuang roared. His figure moved creepily and then appeared by Universe God Xiong Fu's side. Blood Mountain Sword turned into a flowing light and stabbed into Universe God Xiong Fu's chest. Such a creepy martial art motion. Such a tricky angle. Universe God Xiong Fu couldn't wield his huge axe to block, but the black armor covered his whole body and the black armor let out a dim light. Blood Mountain Sword stabbed the black armor and it only left a white mark on the black armor which disappeared really quickly. Real God Chaos Unique Treasure? Jian Wushuang frowned. He was a disciple of Star Palace from lineage of Star. He had completed the ultimate disciple task and he received Blood Feather Reincarnation armor as a bonus reward. On the other hand, Universe God Xiong Fu was Heaven Axe Divine Palace's most outstanding disciple. Heaven Axe Divine Palace wasn't much weaker compared to lineage of Star. It was only right and proper that he had a real God Chaos Unique Treasure on him. However, even with the black armor protecting his body, part of the force contained in Jian Wushuang's stroke spread to Universe God Xiong Fu's divine body and caused him some damage. Swoosh! Universe God Xiong Fu retreated at high speed due to the impact. As he retreated, he looked over at Jian Wushuang with eyes full of rage. Jian Wushuang, I belittled you. You already have the fighting power to be listed in the top 10 of Universe God ranking list. That's really impressive. Universe God Xiong Fu roared. You and I have not much difference in power. If we were to continue to fight, it'd be meaningless. Excuse me for not keeping you company. As he spoke, Universe God Xiong Fu turned into a cloud of black light and prepared to leave. But he had yet to move and he saw an enormous amount of blazing quicksand coming towards him. Although the formed realm wouldn't have much effect on him, his speed was affected. Jian Wushuang, you want to waste time? Universe God Xiong Fu had anger boiling in him. Waste time? I don't think so. Jian Wushuang's murderous intention soared. You have guts. You really thought I was afraid of you? Universe God Xiong Fu bellowed and his figure shook. Suddenly, he grew to 3 meters tall. A boundless divine power soared in madness. Universe God Xiong Fu kept one of his huge axes and held another axe with both his hands. He raised it up. The moment he raised it up, there was immediately an imposing black axe shadow in the void above. The black axes formed one after another. With one glance, there were more than 100 of them. Hundreds of black axe shadows floated. Along with a chilly gleam from Universe God Xiong Fu, the hundreds of black axe shadows gathered. Serene Divine Axe. Walala! An earth-shattering stroke suddenly swung out. The moment the axe shadow appeared, the entire void quivered. There were cracks that formed on the ground from nowhere, just like a spreading spiderweb. Jian Wushuang could feel the power that the axe contained and he didn't dare to act recklessly. Ninth Heaven Stroke. Both were eruptions of strongest divine power, but Jian Wushuang was performing the most powerful Ninth Heaven Stroke out of the 3 real God unique skill that he had created. A Supreme Sword Intention Sword and Nemesis Sword from above Ninth Heaven appeared in the air. It then collided with the ferocious black axe shadow directly. Rumble. There was a loud rumble, as though the sky was collapsing and the earth was shattering. The black axe shadow contained a terrifying force, obviously a notch stronger than the sword principle that Jian Wushuang had cast, Nemesis Sword. Humph, to be able to die by my strongest unique skill. You should be proud. Universe God Xiong Fu looked a little pale. It was obvious that it wasn't easy for him to perform the technique. But then, swoosh, the black divine storm was suddenly pierced. A ghastly figure plunged out and suddenly charged before Universe God Xiongfu in an instant again. How is it possible? Universe God Xiongfu was shocked. He already saw the ghastly figure belong to Jian Wushuang, but he never thought that Jian Wushuang would be able to do such a thing. He wasn't injured at all? Universe God Xiongfu looked on in disbelief. But he didn't know that Jian Wushuang also had a real God Chaos unique treasure protecting his body, and he had cultivated one of the secret skills of lineage of Star, Xianxia Golden Body. His divine body could be compared favorably with a real god's. After the earlier axe stroke broke ninth heaven stroke, it had already expended half of its power. The remaining power pounded against Jian Wushuang's body. After the tremendous weakening via blood feather reincarnation armor, there was only a very slight bit of power left. Jian Wushuang blocked it easily with his divine body alone. Even your strongest move cannot kill me. Now it's my turn to kill you. Jian Wushuang's roar resounded across the universe. His body was like a ghost and he created 18 shadows. In no time, he appeared in front of Universe God Xiongfu. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Swift, violent, and artful sword shadows appeared one after another. Under the influence of the power of spacetime, the speed of the sword shadows was extremely fast. With Jian Wushuang's martial art motion, he attacked Universe God Xiongfu again and again. Oh no! Universe God Xiongfu's expression changed greatly and he swung his giant axes to block. However, in terms of speed of martial art motion, he was unable to keep up and he was pushed back by Jian Wushuang in no time. Jian Wushuang's sword light attacked one after another and Universe God Xiongfu used every ounce of his strength to block them. However, Jian Wushuang would find openings during a few instances and struck Universe God Xiongfu with his sword principles. If one or two strokes struck him, he would not be too concerned. However, as time went by, the sword principles that landed on his body continued to increase. No matter how strong his defense was, he would be unable to take so many attacks. I have to escape as soon as possible, if not I will really be in danger. Universe God Xiongfu understood this point and he looked for an opportunity to escape immediately. However, it was a pity. Jian Wushuang's Blaze Quicksand Gourd's territory was present, and he had also used the secret skill of Dragon Blood. Hence, his speed would be many times faster than Universe God Xiongfu's. Even if Universe God Xiongfu were to use all his tricks, he would be unable to shake Jian Wushuang off. Jian Wushuang continued to attack time and again. He struck Universe God Xiongfu's body repeatedly and caused his injuries to increase unceasingly. After some time, Jian Wushuang had over 20 swords attacking Universe God Xiongfu's body head-on. After 20 strokes, blood flowed out from the corners of Universe God Xiongfu's mouth and his body was on the verge of collapsing. Jian Wushuang, I admit that you are impressive. I will give you the White Blaze Fruit. Universe God Xiongfu shouted. White Blaze Fruit. Haha. After killing you, won't the White Blaze Fruit still be mine? Jian Wushuang said coldly. Jian Wushuang, you are too much. Universe God Xiongfu was extremely furious. You said it yourself. In this world, abilities earn you respect. Since my abilities are stronger than yours, even if I go over the line, what can you do? Jian Wushuang sneered. Cut the crap, die. Damn you. Universe God Xiongfu cursed loudly. At the same time, he was struggling against Jian Wushuang madly. He could only struggle. Escape. It was impossible for him to escape. Fight. The speed of Jian Wushuang's martial art motion had pushed him back completely and did not give him any chance to counterattack. He could only allow Jian Wushuang's sword principles to strike him repeatedly, making his injuries more fatal. As for going all out, he had already tried going all out, using his strength to stop his motion and even unleashing his strongest move. However, he was still unable to do anything against Jian Wushuang. In such a situation, what awaited him was death. No, no! Universe God Xiongfu roared madly. He had already sensed death approaching him. Although he was struggling with all his might, he still had no way out. He could only look on as the number of injuries on his body continued to increase, his body gradually reaching its limit and finally collapse completely. Bam! With a low, Deep voice, Universe God Xiong Fu's life came to an end and he stopped breathing. Jian Wushuang stood in the void. As he looked at Universe God Xiong Fu's body, his eyes filled with coldness. Longya had given you the white blaze fruit just now. However, you still wanted to kill him. And now, I am merely letting you have a taste of your own medicine. Hence, you cannot blame me. You can only blame the fact that you deserve to die. Jian Wushuang muttered to himself. After that, he swung his hand and plundered Universe God Xiong Fu's Chen Kuan ring as well as all his treasures. While plundering his treasures, Jian Wushuang took a look quickly, and he could not help but be amazed. Universe God Xiong Fu was indeed a top expert who ranked 9th on the Universe God ranking list. He had quite a number of treasures on him. All the pieces of armor that he wore were chaos unique treasures that were of the level of a real god. Even those 2 giant axes of his were chaos unique treasures of the level of a real god. Hence, it was no wonder that his strength was so powerful. However, it was a pity. With the death of Universe God Xiong Fu, all the treasures on him, including the white blaze fruit, had fallen into the hands of Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, a voice could be heard. Longya, who was recovering his divine power at a void far away, had come over. As he looked at Universe God Xiong Fu's body, which had fallen to the ground, Longya's face was filled with astonishment. You actually killed Universe God Xiong Fu? That's a super expert ranked 9th on the Universe God ranking list. Ranked 9th. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows and he wore an indifferent smile. Universe God Xiong Fu was indeed worthy of being ranked 9th on the Universe God ranking list. His abilities were certainly powerful. However, on the basis of the Reincarnation doctrine, Jian Wushuang had managed to comprehend a small bit of the power of spacetime. Hence, at the moment, he definitely had the fighting capabilities to get into the top 10 of the Universe God ranking list. Comparing real fighting capabilities, he was not very different from Universe God Xiong Fu. Even if he were stronger than Universe God Xiong Fu, he was only slightly stronger. However, the key point was that Jian Wushuang had overpowered Universe God Xiong Fu. I cannot say that I overpowered him. Instead, it's my martial art motion that is too strange and frightening. I reckon that most of the experts, including the Universe Gods on the Universe God ranking list, could only take a beating if they were to come across my martial art motion. The only exceptions are the Universe Gods who honed their martial art motions to an extremely high level as well, and are able to match my speed. Jian Wushuang giggled. Universe God Xiong Fu had died in an oppressed manner. He was definitely not weaker than Jian Wushuang by much. However, as he was unable to keep up with the speed of Jian Wushuang's martial art motion, he could only take a beating continuously and defend continuously during the fight. Moreover, he was unable to block the attacks completely. Hence, he had died. Longya, how is the recovery of your divine power? Jian Wushuang looked toward Longya. The effects of the elixirs that you gave me are not bad. I have already recovered 10% of my divine power. Although I am unable to participate in a big battle, I will be fine if I am just moving around, Longya said. That's good. Jian Wushuang nodded his head. At that moment, he realized that a shadow was dashing over from the void that was not too far away. It's Xianxia. Jian Wushuang revealed a smile. When they received Lei Chao's message that Longya was being pursued, both Jian Wushuang and Xianxia hurried over at their fastest speed. However, as Jian Wushuang was closer, he would naturally arrive earlier. As for Xianxia, he only managed to arrive at that moment. Jian Wushuang, Longya, are both of you all right? Xianxia appeared in front of Jian Wushuang and Longya. I am all right. I am lucky that Jian Wushuang arrived in the nick of time, Longya said. Okay. Xianxia noticed the big pile of bodies on the ground, especially Universe God Xiong Fu's body. That's Universe God Xiong Fu. Xianxia stared. That is indeed Universe God Xiong Fu. However, he is dead now. He was killed by Jian Wushuang, Longya said. What? Xianxia looked at Jian Wushuang incredulously. All right, let's not talk about this now. Let's leave this place. That fight just now was not small. Quite a number of Universe Gods around the area are looking, Jian Wushuang said. Understood. Longya and Xianxia nodded their heads simultaneously. After that, the three of them left at once. The battle between Jian Wushuang and Universe God Xiong Fu attracted many Universe Gods. The Universe Gods kept their distance and watched from afar. Some Universe Gods even took out a mirroring token to record the war scene. After Jian Wushuang and the other two disciples left, the spectators in the void immediately burst into an uproar. Universe God Xiong Fu died? The 20th on Universe God ranking list? Jian Wushuang killed the 9th-ranked Universe God Xiong Fu? This is unbelievable. There was a great commotion. Very soon, the news about the battle spread like wildfire. In the loft palace where the Almighties gathered. Lei Chao, your people in lineage of Star have guts. The roar containing boundless anger reverberated through the entire palace. It was a stern-looking man who roared. The stern-looking man was from Heaven Act's divine palace. Humph! The one who has guts should be Universe God Xiong Fu from Heaven Act's divine palace. He was after a disciple from lineage of Star, Longya. Even after Longya gave him the white blaze fruit, he didn't stop. He wanted Longya's death. Now, Jian Wushuang has killed him, and he only has himself to blame. Lei Chao snorted. Has himself to blame? We, Heaven Act's divine palace, won't pretend as though nothing has happened. The stern-looking man bellowed. Regardless of what Heaven Act's divine palace wants to do, we, lineage of Star, will be accepting it, Lei Chao said at ease. Such a joke. The power levels of lineage of Star and Heaven Act's divine palace were very close. When Universe God Xiong Fu had intended to strike at Longya, he didn't worry about lineage of Star. So why would lineage of Star bother with Heaven Act's divine palace? The surrounding experts, including the Almighties, watched the two of them wage a tit-for-tat struggle engrossingly but didn't stop them. In the middle of the hall, there was a motion picture that appeared before long. The motion picture was the scene where Jian Wushuang and Universe God Xiong Fu were exchanging blows. Everyone in the hall was watching while exchanging comments. Jian Wushuang is quite powerful. He is. He comprehended two supreme doctrine, Reincarnation and Spacetime doctrine. Plus, his comprehension of Reincarnation doctrine has already passed through the first level of Doctrine Palace. It's really rare. The most impressive thing about Jian Wushuang is his martial art motion. Yeah, his martial art motion is too creepy. Universe God Xiong Fu totally couldn't keep up. He could only take the hits and be on the defensive. The experts in the hall were highly experienced, especially the Almighties. Through the motion picture, they could clearly determine Jian Wushuang's power. However, they still couldn't tell Jian Wushuang's true level of power, let alone the fact that Jian Wushuang was an inverse cultivator. Jian Wushuang's martial art motion. I know about this. The owner of Sky Sword Mountain spoke. His martial art motion is created by a real god with high comprehension level on spacetime doctrine from very long ago. It's called Flowing Light Phantom. The real god's power wasn't very strong, and was quite a distance from getting listed on Universe God ranking list, but his martial art motion was widely recognized as the first in that era. Later on, the real god passed away and the martial art motion was passed down to his descendants. Over the years of passing down, it ended up in the hands of a universe god named Long Xiu. Universe god Long Xiu was previously imprisoned in my Sky Sword prison. But when Jian Wushuang was wandering in Sky Sword prison, he killed Universe God Long Xiu. Hence, he obtained the secret skill of the martial art motion. Oh, I see. The surrounding experts nodded. A real god could be widely recognized as the first in martial art motion and speed with the secret skill of Flowing Light Phantom alone. From that itself, one could see how impressive the secret skill was. In terms of martial art motion alone, Jian Wushuang should be in the first place out of all experts on Universe God ranking list. An Almighty said. He should be. Look at Universe God Xiong Fu. He wasn't much weaker compared to Jian Wushuang, but Jian Wushuang killed him straight away, relying on the martial art motion itself. With such a shocking martial art motion, Jian Wushuang's power is enough to be listed in the top 5 on Universe God ranking list. The red-haired elderly with a unicorn in between his eyebrows said. The surrounding Almighties agreed. However, regardless of Jian Wushuang's ranking on Universe God ranking list, the Almighties wouldn't bother. They were merely treating Jian Wushuang as a topic of discussion. In Wu Bei's cave. Jian Wushuang, you are the strongest. The white blaze fruit that Longya got earlier, keep it for yourself. You don't have to give it to Longya. Lei Chao sent a message. I understand. Jian Wushuang nodded. Then, he informed Longya and Xianxia about it. Longya agreed. There are many experts in Wu Bei's cave. It'd be the safest if white blaze fruits are with you. What are your plans after this? Jian Wushuang asked. My divine power has yet to recover entirely. Even if it recovers entirely, it is quite dangerous for me to wander around Wu Bei's cave alone. So, I plan to join forces with Xianxia and move around with him, Longya said. That'd be best. Jian Wushuang nodded too. Since Wu Bei's cave had opened to the public, there was a large number of experts that had gathered there. Many experts on Universe God ranking list, including those who weren't famous but possessed fighting power of one on Universe God ranking list. Longya and Xianxia weren't very high in ranking on Universe God ranking list. If they were to wander around alone, they might not be able to escape in time, even if they were lucky enough to find a white blaze fruit. If they were to join forces, they could at least coordinate. As for Jian Wushuang, it shouldn't be a problem for him to wander along with his power. If so, I shall leave. Be careful when you two move around, Jian Wushuang said. Then Jian Wushuang left. The grand fight banquet for white blaze fruit continued and became even more insane. On the 8th day, after the battle between Jian Wushuang and Universe God Xiong Fu ended, there was a piece of news that was shared to every Universe God in Wu Bei's cave. The first ranked on the Universe God ranking list, God-Destroying King, was there. God-Destroying King had conquered the first place on Universe God ranking list firmly 100,000 years ago. All those years, his position had been unshakable. The top 10 monsters on Universe God ranking list, if the monsters in the second and the third place could be challenged, God-Destroying King, who was first place, was an unbeatable mythology, a legend. His power was so powerful that it made one feel hopeless. He was so powerful that Zidong Wang in second place and Demon Girl Ling Luo in third place didn't have the courage to compete with him. According to the introduction of God-Destroying King to Universe God ranking list, God-Destroying King had comprehended one of the 4 supreme doctrine, Extermination Doctrine. Also, he had only comprehended Extermination Doctrine. Unlike Jian Wushuang, Zidong Wang and Ling Luo, who had comprehended 2 heaven ways. However, because he focused entirely on Extermination Doctrine, his comprehension towards Extermination Doctrine was at an unbelievable level. There was a rumor in 10 cultivation sanctuaries that God-Destroying King's comprehension towards Extermination Doctrine could pass through the second level of Doctrine Palace. A Universe God's comprehension of the Heaven Way could clear the second level of the Doctrine Palace? When Jian Wushuang saw the information of the God-Destroying King, he clicked his tongue. He had completely understood the Doctrine Palace from the King of Venomous Worms. He was very clear that the higher the Doctrine Palace, the harder it was to clear. Even among the real gods, there were not many of them who did it. Only those who stood at the top had the right to clear the second level of the Doctrine Palace. For a Universe God to clear the first level of the Doctrine Palace, he would be considered a super monster. As for clearing the second level, it was almost impossible. However, the God-Destroying King was that frightening. Even Zidong Wang, who ranked second, and Ling Luo, who ranked third in the Universe God ranking list, were extremely terrified of the God-Destroying King. If I were to come across this God-Destroying King, most likely there would only be room for me to escape miserably. Jian Wushuang gasped with admiration. He knew his own abilities inside out. If he were to come across Zidong Wang and Ling Luo at the very moment, he could still try fighting against them. However, if he were to come across the God-Destroying King, he would definitely be unable to compete against him. However, Wu Bei's cave was huge. Hence, the chances of him coming across that God-Destroying King were not high. Jian Wushuang continued to roam around inside Wu Bei's cave and depended on his soul power to search for the iron wing beasts. However, perhaps it was due to there not being many iron wing beasts left in Wu Bei's cave. His chances of finding iron wing beasts were not as high as before. Moreover, even if he managed to find the iron wing beasts, their bodies might not contain the white blaze fruit. Time flew by. 3 months had passed since Wu Bei's cave opened. By relying on his soul power, which gave him an advantage, Jian Wushuang killed another iron wing beast and he obtained his third white blaze fruit. Of course, during his process of obtaining the third white blaze fruit, there was no avoiding a massacre. A number of jealous universe gods tried in vain to team up and kill Jian Wushuang to get the white blaze fruit. However, they were all massacred by Jian Wushuang mercilessly in the end. In Wu Bei's cave, where massacres occurred all over the place as many universe gods fought madly for the white blaze fruit. Boom! All of a sudden, the whole cave shook. The frequency of the earthquakes increased continuously as well. What happened? What's going on? Could it be that this cave is about to close? Many universe gods in the cave were stunned. While they were stupefied, in the void in the highest part of the cave, a dim shadow formed slowly. The dim shadow was not big. However, they existed in each and every corner of the cave. When the great number of universe gods in the cave raised their heads in succession, they could see the dim shadow. However, they were unable to see the real appearance of the dim shadow. They were even unable to sense the presence of the dim shadow's aura. After the dim shadow appeared, an extremely magnanimous yet slightly evil voice resounded within the cave. Universe gods of the eternal chaotic world, welcome to my cave. The voice could be heard from all directions. For the universe gods in the cave, no matter which corner of the cave they were at, they could hear the voice clearly. However, after hearing the voice clearly, many of them were shocked. Welcome to my cave. Everyone knew that the cave was left behind by real god Wu Bei. Hence, could the person speaking be real god Wu Bei? Wu Bei, that madman. Even though he is already dead, he still left his consciousness behind in his own cave intentionally. As I guessed, this cave is not as simple as we think. Within the big hall in the sky of the island, many almighties knew about the changes in Wu Bei's cave. At once, the big hall became lively. What does that madman intend to do? It was obvious that the almighties did not dare to underestimate real god Wu Bei. Inside the cave, the voice of the dim shadow continued on. My cave has already been opened for 3 months. During the 3 months, the 15 white blaze fruits that I left behind in the first level of this cave have all landed in the hands of all of you. Next, it's about time that all of you enter the second level of the cave. The second level will have more white blaze fruits. There will be a total of 50 of them. As soon as the words left his mouth, the universe gods in each and every corner of Wu Bei's cave became excited at once. This cave has a second level? The first level has 15 white blaze fruits, while the second level has a total of 50 white blaze fruits? Gosh! Many universe gods were extremely enthusiastic, especially those universe gods who had not obtained any white blaze fruits previously. Even the almighties and the real god experts from many various powerhouses within the big hall became extremely excited at that moment. The second level has a total of 50 white blaze fruits? Is that true? How can there be so many? The almighties found it unbelievable. It should be known that in the history of the eternal chaotic world, one white blaze fruit alone was extremely precious, and it was enough to make the almighties yearn for it. During the 3 months on the island, the 15 white blaze fruits found in Wu Bei's cave had already caused the almighties to be astonished. At the moment, the consciousness that Wu Bei left behind actually told them that there was a total of 50 white blaze fruits in the second level. Burning with excitement. The eyes of the almighties in the big hall were burning with excitement. Of course, even though they were burning with excitement, they were still able to retain their senses. Inside the cave, I will give all of you a month's time to either rest or make preparations. After 1 month, the second level of the cave will open. Before that, I will give all of you a reminder first. The space of the second level of the cave is not as huge as the first level. Moreover, there are many white blaze fruits. Hence, perhaps the fight would be crazier? Haha! An evil laugh echoed in the universe, and what followed after that was the dim shadow dissipating slowly. However, the universe gods in the cave were unable to remain calm. After 1 month, the second level of the cave would open and the fight would become more intense. Jian Wushuang stood at the top of a lofty mountain and he frowned slightly. King of venomous worms, Do you think real God Wu Bei is speaking the truth? Are there really so many white blaze fruits in the second level of the cave? Jian Wushuang questioned. No idea. However, under normal circumstances, it would be impossible to accumulate so many white blaze fruits from one white blaze fruit tree alone. Even after many years, the king of venomous worms continued speaking. Moreover, this real God Wu Bei is really a madman and he can do anything. Hence, you must really remain vigilant. No matter how crazy real God Wu Bei is, I have to go to the second level. Even if it is not for the white blaze fruit, I have to go for the sake of obtaining the training method for an inverse cultivator. Jian Wushuang clenched both his fists tightly and said in a serious tone. You're right. The king of venomous worms also understood. He gave all of you a month's time to prepare. Therefore, you should make your preparations. Jian Wushuang nodded his head and sat down with his legs crossed after that. Inside the cave, many universe gods stopped fighting temporarily and started to prepare. In the lofty hall, various almighties were casually chatting. Real God Wu Bei already died, but he is unwilling to remain out of the limelight. I really have no idea what he is trying to do. Humph. It's a pity that the restriction is too profound. Even we have no way to resolve it. Otherwise, how could he make the decisions? I wonder who helped him in setting up the restriction. In any case, I also have attainments in formation and I am also an almighty. But I can't do anything about the restriction. In 10 cultivation sanctuaries, I reckon that only an existence of that level could possibly resolve the restriction. That level? There are only a few experts of that level in the entire cultivation sanctuaries. They are high above, and why would they bother with us? During a casual chat, the time flew past. 10 days later, among the almighties on the higher part of the hall, Tower Master Chi-Fu from Vientiane Tower suddenly spoke. Everyone, according to various universe gods' performance in the cave for the past 3 months, we at Vientiane Tower have established a brand new universe god ranking list. Take a look at it. Tower Master Chi-Fu waved and a huge list immediately floated in the middle of the hall. A complete universe god ranking list recorded 100 universe gods who were powerful. However, compared to the ranking list before, there was obviously a drastic change. On top of the list, there were 10 eye-catching names. They were the top 10 monsters on Universe God ranking list, listed from top to bottom in order. The first place on Universe God ranking list, God-destroying king. The second place on Universe God ranking list, Zi Dongwang. The third place on Universe God ranking list, White-robed swordsman. The fourth place on Universe God ranking list, Demon Girl Ling Luo. The fifth place on Universe God ranking list, Jian Wushuang. The sixth place on Universe God ranking list, Xian Zhu. The seventh place on Universe God ranking list, Universe God Lu Ying. The eighth place on Universe God ranking list, Demon King Ice Feather. The ninth place on Universe God ranking list, Seven Universe King. The 10th place on Universe God ranking list, Universe God Mo Show. That was the brand new ranking list for the top 10 monsters. Looking at the ranking list, the experts in the hall started discussing among themselves. Some were casually chatting, some were complimenting in silence, but most of them agreed with the rankings. The person on the third place on Universe God ranking list, because he didn't announce his name when he defeated Ling Luo, Vientiane Tower has yet to find out his true name. Hence, we replaced it with White-robed swordsman. If everyone agrees with this, we shall share the ranking list. Tower Master Chi-Fu smiled faintly. In that instant, the ranking list spread across at terrifying speed. In less than half a day, it had spread all over Wu Bei's cave. The universe gods in Wu Bei's cave knew of the existence of the brand new ranking list. The brand new universe god ranking list put me on the 5th place? Jian Wushuang looked confused. His true power was actually not that much stronger compared to the previous 9th place universe god Xiongfu. However, his martial art motion was terrifying. The introduction of him to the brand new universe god ranking list said that his martial art motion was number 1 among all universe gods. He was listed in the 5th place because of his martial art motion. The brand new universe god ranking list is so shocking. There are so many experts that popped up from nowhere. Besides myself, among the top 10 from the previous universe god ranking list, There are 3 people who are not famous at all. Jian Wushuang was surprised. In the top 10 on Universe God ranking list, White Robe Swordsman, Demon King Icefeather, and 7 Universe King were all unknown before this. They revealed terrifying powers at the fights during the 3 months in Wu Bei's cave. Among them all, the mysterious white-robed swordsman was the strongest. He had defeated Ling Luo face-to-face and he was listed in 3rd place. Demon King Icefeather and 7 Universe King defeated Universe God Emosho and then got listed in the 8th and the 9th place. Besides the top 10, the following ranking went through a drastic change too. For instance, Xianxia, who was in the 51st place previously, was then dropped to below 70 and Xianxia to lower than 90th too. Out of the 3 of them from Lineage of Star who were on Universe God ranking list, only he had proceeded to the front of the ranking list. It is only the first level of the cave. If there were to really be a second level to the cave like real God Wu Bei said, there would be a total of 50 white blaze fruit. It definitely would stir up more carnage. By then, the ranking list would experience another drastic change again. Jian Wushuang smiled, but didn't worry much about the ranking list. Very quickly, he closed his eyes again. However, in Wu Bei's cave, many universe gods were shocked by the brand new ranking list. In a spacious, barren land, a cold-looking purple-haired man sat. His facial expression was maliciously charming with a tinge of coldness. He was Zidongwang from the 2nd place on Universe God ranking list. At that very moment, he was paying close attention to the brand new Universe God ranking list. Still the same as before, God-destroying king is high above. No one could compare with him, even I couldn't. This God-destroying king is simply a monster. Zidongwang shook his head. He had no intention to compete with God-destroying king. Ling Luo. She lost to a mysterious swordsman who is unknown. That is quite surprising, Zidongwang frowned. According to the ranking list, the mysterious swordsman comprehended Darkness Doctrine and Massacre Doctrine at the same time. Plus, the comprehension level is extremely high and his swordsmanship is terrifying. Ling Luo already gave her all, and even performed her strongest technique but still lost. The mysterious white-robed swordsman is really powerful, and he didn't seem to be interested with white blaze fruit. He came to the cave purely to challenge experts. Now, he has already defeated Ling Luo. So, I should be next. Humph, come on, come on. Among all universe gods in eternal chaotic world, besides God-destroying king, there is definitely no one else who could be my Zidongwang's match. Zidongwang was confident. On the top of a towering tree, a shadow in a black robe sat quietly. The figure of the shadow in a black robe was scrawny and his cold look was evil. He was giving out a unique aura. Most importantly, his eyes were a pair of extremely dark and creepy eyes that seemed to contain boundless magic power. Jian Wushuang, 5th place on Universe God ranking list? He didn't even fight with me in person. Just because he killed that idiotic Xiongfu, he is listed in the 5th place directly. The people from Vientiane Tower made arbitrary decisions. The evil-looking man in black robe had a chilly gleam in his eyes. He was the 6th place on the current Universe God ranking list. Xianxia. One should know that Xianxia was previously in the 4th place on Universe God ranking list. But because of the white-robed swordsman and Jian Wushuang, he had dropped to the 6th place. The white-robed swordsman had defeated Ling Luo face-to-face, and it was unnecessary to be in doubt of his power. Hence, Xianxia naturally wouldn't suspect nor complain. However, Jian Wushuang, he had only killed Universe God Xiongfu and he was listed on the 5th place directly, even higher ranked than he was. Xianxia was naturally upset about it. The 2nd level of the cave is about to open. At that time, the fight will be even more intense. Hopefully, I would be able to come across Jian Wushuang. Xianxia's eyes were filled with coldness. A month's time passed quickly. The dim shadow appeared again at the highest part of the void. At the same time, some space passage appeared in each and every corner of the cave. The space passage to enter the 2nd level has been opened. If you wish to get more white blaze fruits and opportunities, please go in. Real God Wu Bei's voice was evil just like before, and it resounded across the whole cave. After hearing his voice, the universe gods who had finished their preparations a long time ago headed into the space passages that had appeared in their vicinities without hesitation, and entered the second level of Wu Bei's cave. In the second level of Wu Bei's cave, there was a crimson sun high in the sky. The whole sky and earth were crimson in color, and even the air was filled with a thin crimson mist. Jian Wushuang was standing in the void in the second level of Wu Bei's cave. He had already spread his soul power across the area and discovered many figures within the range that his soul power had covered. There was a total of 18 universe gods. On the second level, the universe gods are spread closer to one another, Jian Wushuang muttered. However, he also understood that the second level was not as huge as the first level. Hence, the universe gods would naturally be placed closer to one another. For the universe gods to be spread so close to one another, as soon as white blaze fruits appear and a fight breaks out, tens or even hundreds of universe gods will be able to get to the battlefield in an instant. With so many universe gods, if they were to team up, even the experts in the top 20 and top 10 of the universe god ranking list would have to retreat. Moreover, how will the white blaze fruits in the second level appear? Will it be the same as the first level where it is inside the bodies of iron wing beasts? Jian Wushuang frowned. While Jian Wushuang was puzzled, real god Wu Bei's dim shadow appeared at the highest part of the cave and his evil voice could be heard again. The 50 white blaze fruits have already been spread across the space of every area of the cave's second level. When the time is right, they will appear by themselves. However, it will be up to your own abilities if you wish to obtain the white blaze fruits. After that, the dim shadow disappeared again. Appearing in succession? Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes. After that, he moved his legs and started to move around the area slowly. While moving, a number of universe gods discovered him. That's Jian Wushuang, the super expert ranked 5th on the new universe god ranking list. It is said that Jian Wushuang obtained a total of 3 white blaze fruits in just the first level of the cave alone. 3 white blaze fruits? It's a pity that Jian Wushuang is too strong. Hence, it is totally impossible to snatch the white blaze fruits from his hands. Under such circumstances where experts were spread so close to one another, they had better not think of getting the white blaze fruits quietly. Take the 15 white blaze fruits on the first level of the cave as an example. The whereabouts of every fruit were known clearly. As for Jian Wushuang, he had obtained a total of 3 white blaze fruit on the first level and everyone had known about it for a while. However, although the universe gods knew that, no one dared to lay their eyes on Jian Wushuang. Take those universe gods who did not have the right to get into the universe god ranking list as an example. Unless hundreds of them teamed up, trying to snatch treasures from Jian Wushuang was as good as suicide. In the space of the second level, the universe gods were searching carefully. At that moment, at a lofty mountain at a corner of the second level space, boom, a strong aura burst forth. The aura disturbed the wind and clouds. In an instant, they became many giant waves which spread across the area. With such great disturbances, even if one were to be millions of miles away, they would be able to sense the commotion clearly. In a jiffy, hundreds of universe gods who were within a few million miles became alarmed. This disturbance. The white blaze fruits have appeared. It's in this vicinity. Hurry there quickly. Quick, quick. Hundreds of universe gods moved their bodies at once and rushed over at their fastest speeds. Straight away after that, an extremely fierce, miserable fight began. What had appeared was indeed white blaze fruits. Moreover, it was not only one fruit. It was 2 fruits. The appearance of 2 white blaze fruits quickly attracted hundreds of universe gods over to compete for them. After some intense and tragic killing, the fight ended. As for the universe gods at the other areas of the second level, despite not being able to make it to the fight, they had managed to get the information hastily. At the same time, they also knew the results of the fight. 2 white blaze fruits appeared at the same time? Jian Wushuang exclaimed. According to the information that he had obtained, during the fight for the 2 white blaze fruits, more than 200 universe gods had died, and this included an expert on the universe god ranking list. More than 200 universe gods died in one fight. Moreover, all of them are practically universe gods who stand at the top of the 3rd heaven. This is really crazy, Jian Wushuang muttered. Actually, the white blaze fruits are useless to universe gods like us. Hence, There is no need for them to go to this extent. As soon as Jian Wushuang's words left his mouth, King of Venomous Worms sneered immediately. Jian Wushuang, that's easy for you to say. You are a Star Palace disciple of the lineage of Star, and the Star Palace treats you like a treasure. As soon as you have completed the ultimate disciple task, you will be awarded a real God-level chaos unique treasure. However, in the eternal chaotic world, not all the universe gods are treated the same way as you. For the majority of the universe gods, not mentioning real God-level chaos unique treasures, even getting top universe God-level chaos unique treasures is difficult for them. And this time around, every big powerhouse and many almighties have given their word that every white blaze fruit can be exchanged for a real God-level chaos unique treasure. Hence, how can those universe gods not be interested? Not mentioning universe gods alone, if real gods were able to enter the cave as well, you would see what reaction the real gods would have. They will definitely be as crazy as the universe gods. After hearing what had been said, Jian Wushuang could not help but be silent. Indeed, due to his identity as a Star Palace disciple as well as his good luck, he had managed to get many opportunities. As a result of that, he had acquired and possessed many treasures. However, other universe gods were not as fortunate. One white blaze fruit could be exchanged for a real God-level chaos unique treasure. This was enough to make countless universe gods, as well as a few real gods, go crazy. After the first fight, white blaze fruits appeared again after some time. Just like before, 2 white blaze fruits appeared at the same time and an insane fight took place as well. What followed after that was the third appearance, where 3 white blaze fruits appeared at the same time. After 3 blood-soaked fights, many universe gods in the cave, as well as the experts in the outside world, firmly believed that there were indeed 50 white blaze fruits in the second level of the cave. For the birth of a white blaze fruit for the first 3 times, Jian Wushuang was too far away and he couldn't rush there in time. However, the 4th time, Jian Wushuang managed to get there in time. There were 3 white blaze fruits that came to the world at the same time. When Jian Wushuang appeared at the birthplace, there was already a mad fight going on. There was a total of 100 universe gods that participated in the 5th battle. Out of the 3 white blaze fruits, 2 were taken away. The remaining 1 fell into the hands of a universe god. Jian Wushuang knew the universe god too. His name was Universe God Taizong. Universe God Taizong was in the 28th place on Universe God ranking list. He was considered one of the top experts. Even when he came across an ordinary real god, he could fight head-on. But then, Universe God Taizong was besieged by almost 100 universe gods. If it wasn't for him being extremely strong in defense, he would have been killed long ago. Jian Wushuang immediately got involved and cast 18 shadows simultaneously. Under the effect of power of spacetime, he went through the crowd and appeared before Universe God Taizong. Universe God Taizong, pass me the white blaze fruit. Otherwise, die. Jian Wushuang's bellow traveled into Universe God Taizong's ears. You are Jian Wushuang. Universe God Taizong almost recognized Jian Wushuang. Even though he was unwilling to, he took out the white blaze fruit and threw it at Jian Wushuang. He was certain that Jian Wushuang would never come and he could only opt to give up the white blaze fruit under the siege of almost 100 universe gods. As Jian Wushuang came, he decided to just give a favor at a little cost. Jian Wushuang extended his hand and took the white blaze fruit. The 4th. Jian Wushuang smiled delightedly. It's Jian Wushuang. The white blaze fruit is with Jian Wushuang. Kill him. Kill him. The surrounding universe gods immediately redirected their focus and chased after Jian Wushuang in madness. Humph! Jian Wushuang humphed and he traveled like a ghost and went through the crowd recklessly. Everywhere he went, he wielded his blood mountain sword and immediately killed for universe gods who were blocking his way at the front. Then he passed through the crowd. How could he? He charged out from our siege so easily? The martial art motion is too terrifying. The universe gods found it unbelievable. When they had besieged Universe God Taizong, he couldn't even struggle. However, Jian Wushuang dashed out from their siege in an instant. Jian Wushuang! A low bellow was suddenly heard. Jian Wushuang turned around and his gaze was fixed. Demon King Icefeather? Demon King Ice Feather, the 8th ranked on the brand new Universe God ranking list. You have already gotten 3 white blaze fruits on the first level of the cave. Now you want to get the 4th one. You are too greedy. Demon King Ice Feather's voice shook the sky. His figure caught up at lightning speed, far faster than any other universe gods. Hee, if you were me, you definitely would be as greedy. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly and wasn't in a hurry to leave, but he turned to walk towards Demon King Ice Feather. As his figure plunged, Jian Wushuang's martial art motion was immediately revealed flawlessly. In a short period of time, haha, Demon King Ice Feather, excuse me for not keeping you company. Jian Wushuang's voice was still reverberating in the void nearby, but his figure had already disappeared before everyone's eyes. Demon King Ice Feather looked cold as he stood in the void. He watched the direction which Jian Wushuang traveled in, and he creased his eyebrows slightly. This Jian Wushuang should be around the same as me in terms of power. However, his martial art motion is too creepy. Demon King Ice Feather recalled the instance when Jian Wushuang had fought against him earlier. It was mostly the speed of that instant and his martial art motion. Such a creepy and terrifying martial art motion. It could really be known as the #1 martial art motion among universe gods. Plus, he does qualify to be listed in the 5th place on Universe God ranking list. Demon King Ice Feather said and then left immediately. Very soon, on the 2nd level of the cave, many universe gods received the news and found that Jian Wushuang had obtained the 4th white blaze fruit. At the same time, they found out that Demon King Ice Feather had fought. Although there wasn't victory or defeat in the battle, Demon King Ice Feather admitted that Jian Wushuang had the fighting power of the 5th place on Universe God ranking list. A mad fight was still continuing. Occasionally, there would be white blaze fruits coming to the world. Every time the fruit came to the world, there would be a huge movement to attract all the universe gods. As time flew past, it already became the 10th day since everyone had entered the 2nd level of the cave. The breeze blew slightly and it was piercingly cold. The originally crimson space became even more terrifying. In the air, there was even a faint roar. Jian Wushuang wore a red robe that transformed from blood feather reincarnation armor. He carried his sword on his back and walked forward slowly in the void. It has been 10 days and it has been 12 times since the white blaze fruits came into the world. Every time there have been 2 pieces or even 3 pieces altogether. Then, out of the white blaze fruits that were found on the 2nd level, there were 29 pieces in total. In other words, there were 21 white blaze fruits that would be born one after another, Jian Wushuang muttered. 12 births and 12 fights. But in the 12 fights, he only managed to get 1 white blaze fruit during the 4th fight. As for the other fights, he didn't manage to get there in time. Then, the total of white blaze fruits in his hands was only 4. To get white blaze fruits in the cave, it doesn't only rely on one's power. Luck plays a great factor too. No wonder a lot of universe gods who aren't that strong still opt to enter the cave. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly. Just then, Hong! A fierce aura suddenly erupted. The bolt of aura shook the heavens and earth. Then, it suddenly formed into waves and spread terrifyingly. In a short time, it spread up to 100 million miles away. One should know that the birth of white blaze fruit during the past 12 times stirred a commotion each time. However, the largest scale only covered a range of 10 million miles. However, the movement covered 100 million miles this time, and it was spreading at lightning speed. This movement... Jian Wushuang suddenly lifted his head and looked at the source of the movement. There was an unprecedented joy shimmering in his eyes. It's there. It's very near to me. At most 100,000 miles away. Jian Wushuang clenched his fist and immediately plunged towards the source of the movement without hesitation. He gave full play to his speed. Not only was Jian Wushuang startled by the movement, all universe gods within the coverage of the 1 billion mile range were surprised. This movement is too great. Such a large movement. There must be a lot more white blaze fruits that come to the world. Let's go. Hurry and get over. Hurry. I must get there in time. Damn it. Too far away. Countless universe gods flowed from every corner like wasps towards the birthplace. Since the 2nd level of the cave had opened, the so-called largest-scale fight was going to happen. The commotion this time around was indeed too big. It was a lot greater than the commotion from the previous 12 times when the white blaze fruits appeared. Naturally, more universe gods were attracted as well. Among those universe gods, Jian Wushuang was part of the batch of people who was the closest to the point of appearance. He was less than 100 miles away. With such a short distance, by using his speed, Jian Wushuang managed to reach the location in a short time. However, after reaching the location, even Jian Wushuang was shocked by the scene in front of him. On a vast wasteland, the ground had split open due to an explosion. In the void above it, there were 8 floating, bright white lights spread across the area, and what was shrouded inside the white lights were the white blaze fruits. A total of 8 white blaze fruits. Gosh! Jian Wushuang could not help but opened his eyes big. During the 12 appearances previously, 2 fruits had appeared every time. At most 3 fruits had appeared. However, just then, 8 fruits had appeared at once. It was crazy, really crazy. All the universe gods who rushed to the point of appearance at once went insane when they saw the 8 white blaze fruits. Even Jian Wushuang's eyes were burning with excitement. Snatch! With a flash of shrill light, Jian Wushuang unleashed his fastest speed instantly, and 18 shadows appeared at the same time. In the void in the vicinity, there were 7 other people who charged toward the 8 white blaze fruits. All the eyes of the 7 universe gods were dyed scarlet in color, and they were using all their strength to head toward the 8 white blaze fruits. However, due to the differences in their speeds, 4 people were the fastest to arrive at the 8 white blaze fruits. Jian Wushuang was among the 4 people. Collect! With a swing of his big hand, Jian Wushuang put the 2 white blaze fruits that were the closest to him into a Chen Kuan ring with lightning speed. After that, his body appeared in front of the 3rd white blaze fruit in the blink of an eye, and he was about to collect it. That's mine. A shrill voice could be heard. A purple-clothed youth with a strict expression had already lost his senses. With a swing of his hand, he snatched the white blaze fruit away. Moreover, he had also seized another white blaze fruit moments ago. This meant that he had also gotten 2 white blaze fruits at the same time. After seeing what had been done, Jian Wushuang's expression turned grave. His icy-cold eyes shot a glance at the strict-looking youth, and he activated his soul power. Ah! The strict-looking youth gave a horrible shriek. While shrieking, his consciousness was completely destroyed. A normal universe god dares to snatch my item. You are really courting death. Jian Wushuang was filled with murderous aura. With a wave of his hand, he took the strict-looking youth's Chen Kuan ring. By sweeping his consciousness past it, his eyes glowed brilliantly at once. This youth had just collected 2 white blaze fruits. In addition to the 2 white blaze fruits that he had collected as well, this meant that Jian Wushuang had gotten another 4 white blaze fruits. Moreover, it was obvious that the fight for the white blaze fruits had only just begun. Continue snatching. Jian Wushuang locked on to a black-robed old married woman near him. His soul power had already noticed that the black-robed woman had also managed to get a white blaze fruit. 18 shadows appeared, and Jian Wushuang appeared in front of the black-robed woman at once. Jian Wushuang? Not good. The black-robed woman was shocked. Die! Jian Wushuang was filled with murderous intent. His blood mountain sword was extended like a spiritual snake, and it was also filled with a small bit of the power of spacetime. Hence, the black-robed woman had no time to block it at all, and the sword light struck her body. Arg! The black-robed woman spit out a big mouthful of blood on the spot, and her aura plunged down. Not dead. Jian Wushuang's eyes squinted slightly. However, he was not too surprised. There were innumerable universe gods with impressive abilities. Although the black-robed woman looked normal and had no reputation, her abilities should be quite close to making it into the universe god ranking list. Jian Wushuang, I will give the white blaze fruit to you. I shall not participate in this fight anymore. The black-robed woman suppressed her fear and anger. She then tossed out a white light. The white light was the white blaze fruit. Jian Wushuang extended his hand and caught the white light. The 5th fruit. Jian Wushuang was delighted. At that moment, an intense fight by the side attracted Jian Wushuang's attention. In particular, His attention was focused on a plump young man in the intense fight. The sixth white blaze fruit is with this young man. With the flash of a shrill light, Jian Wushuang prepared to head over to snatch the sixth white blaze fruit. However, all of a sudden, buzz! Quietly, the plump young man's eyes became dim. His body also became weak and he started to fall downward. A consciousness attack? Jian Wushuang's eyes turned serious. The consciousness attack was not from him. Swoosh! A strange black shadow appeared beside the body of the plump young man. With a stretch of his hands, he grabbed the plump young man's Qian Kuan ring. As for the four universe gods who were originally fighting with the plump young man, they went on to attack the black shadow instinctively after seeing such a scene. However, in the end, the four universe gods' eyes turned dim quietly, just like before. What a strong consciousness attack! Jian Wushuang's expression turned grave. Swoosh! 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 Sounds of the wind being disturbed could be heard and many universe gods arrived. Although the fight moments ago could be said to be slow, in actual fact, it was completed hastily. In a short amount of time, the 8 white blaze fruits had all landed into the hands of someone. In particular, 2 people had managed to get 1 white blaze fruit each and had they left a long time ago. As for the remaining 6 fruits, they were with Jian Wushuang and the black shadow which had appeared abruptly. It's Jian Wushuang who is ranked 5th on the universe god ranking list. As for the other one, it's Xianxia. Jian Wushuang and Xianxia, 2 experts who are ranked 5th and 6th in the universe god ranking list respectively, are both here. When the universe gods who had just arrived saw the 2 of them standing opposite one another in the void, they were surprised. Naturally, they did not dare to make a move. Xianxia? Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes and stared at the black-robed young man in front of him. The black-robed young man was handsome and cold like a demon. Xianxia had an extremely infamous reputation in the eternal chaotic world. Before Wu Bei's cave appeared, among the universe gods, only the god-destroying king, Zi Dongwang and demon girl Ling Luo could overpower him. Moreover, in the eyes of many universe gods, Xianxia was more frightening than the god-destroying king, Zi Dongwang and Ling Luo. The god-destroying king was recognized as the number 1 of the universe gods. He was powerful, and in a 1-to-1 match, no one aside from real gods could be his opponent. However, if he were to be besieged by a large number of universe gods, say if there were hundreds of universe gods fighting him at the same time, he would also have no choice but to escape miserably. However, Xianxia was different. Xianxia was an expert who was proficient in consciousness attacks. And for those people who were proficient in consciousness attacks, numbers were the least of their worries. For example, since the 2nd level of the cave had opened, the white blaze fruits had appeared 12 times. There were 2 times where Xianxia had managed to make it and he had acquired the white blaze fruit in front of countless universe gods. Moreover, he stood in his position openly and did not try to escape. As for the hundreds of universe gods near him, they could only watch him. No one dared to attack. The 6th place on the universe god ranking list, Xianxia, who was previously in the 4th place. He's not a person to provoke. Jian Wushuang gasped with admiration. Jian Wushuang, I finally get to meet you. The cold, evil-looking young man, Xianxia said. He fixed his cold gaze on Jian Wushuang. But you're quite a lucky man. There are so many universe gods who put up life and death fights in the cave but couldn't even get 1 white blaze fruit. Yet you alone got 9 of them. 9? Jian Wushuang has 9 white blaze fruits? He really has 9. He already had 4 white blaze fruits previously. The 8 white blaze fruits that came to the world earlier, he got 5 of them alone. Although the surrounding universe gods had only just rushed to the place, they had seen the fight scene earlier and knew that Jian Wushuang got 5 white blaze fruits in the earlier fight. In addition to the 4 that he had had before, he held a total of 9. A total of 9 white blaze fruits was on Jian Wushuang. The surrounding universe gods looked at Jian Wushuang with burning gazes. Jian Wushuang could feel the greed in the universe god's eyes clearly. I have to leave immediately. Otherwise, there will be more universe gods that gather here. In the end, there might be 100 or even 1,000 universe gods that besiege me. Plus, Xianxia is here too. Jian Wushuang's face grew dim, and he immediately made a decision. One must know just how great the movement was when the 8 white blaze fruits came to the world. There was a large number of universe gods rushing over from the surroundings constantly. Run! There was a flash and Jian Wushuang performed the secret skill of flowing light phantom. There were 18 shadows created simultaneously. Jian Wushuang gave full play to his speed and retreated backwards at his maximum speed. Want to run? Move! Kill him! Let's do it together! Let's kill him! The surrounding universe god launched attacks one after another. There were bolts of fierce aura that exploded. Some universe gods charged towards Jian Wushuang to pound him, and some stood on the spot but launched an attack at Jian Wushuang from afar. The attacks flooded in at the same time at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang immediately made a huge black tortoise soar from his body as his body stealthily went through and dodged most of the attack. Even when the remaining few strikes hit him, it didn't cause him any damage. With that factor alone, they couldn't stop him. Jian Wushuang. There was suddenly a low bellow. The bellow was like a drumstick that hit Jian Wushuang vigorously. At the same time, Jian Wushuang could only feel the surrounding scenery began to change. Dreamland. Jian Wushuang's face changed and he complimented Xianxia's technique from the bottom of his heart. His back was facing Xianxia with many universe gods obstructing in between. However, Xianxia cast Dreamland on him directly through his voice. Break! Jian Wushuang clenched his teeth and an enormous amount of soul power erupted. He instantly shook off the phantasmagoria with his strong mental state. He just shook it off and Jian Wushuang immediately noticed a large number of figures hemming him in. There were about 20 universe gods who had gathered around him and they were launching attack against him. Courting death. Jian Wushuang's voice was cold. He poured out his soul power and formed into soul thorns. They were instantly immersed into the 20 universe gods' bodies. More than half of the 20 universe gods had their consciousnesses vanish. Although the remaining few endured it, their figures were hindered. Consciousness attack. Jian Wushuang is also good at consciousness attacks, and his consciousness attacks are so powerful. The remaining universe gods looked surprised. Virum. A fierce force suddenly exploded. Jian Wushuang immediately lifted his head, but he noticed that Xianxia had appeared somewhere above him. At the same time, there were 2 tall figures that had substantiated. Jian Wushuang die. Xianxia's voice was cold, and the 2 tall figures suddenly moved. The 2 tall figures were 2 huge headless warriors. They were in black armor, holding long speed in their hands as they dove downwards. When they appeared before Jian Wushuang, the 2 headless warriors stabbed with the long spears in their hands and pierced 2 big holes in the void. Jian Wushuang looked solemn and he suddenly exploded his divine power. The power of blood feather reincarnation armor was given full play too. Wow! Wow! The 2 lightning-like strokes collided with the long spears in the 2 headless warriors' hands. There were 2 low thuds and Jian Wushuang's figure shrunk by a dozen zhang. Such strong power! Jian Wushuang looked at the 2 headless warriors in astonishment. After one exchange, he could tell that the 2 headless warriors were not any weaker than a real god. The 2 headless warriors joining forces were like fighting power of 2 real gods. Hong! The 2 headless warriors continued to attack Jian Wushuang with soaring arrogance. Humph! Jian Wushuang harumphed coldly and the 18 shadows moved at the same time, taking 2 simple turns in the void followed by a sprint. It was extremely creepy. It shuttled through the gap between the 2 headless warriors and appeared before Xianxia. This martial art motion? Xianxia's face grew grave. Jian Wushuang was staring at Xianxia with his bright, sparkly eyes. Xianxia flung himself into consciousness attack. Disregarding that it's a consciousness attack, his close combat skill is definitely not strong. 10,000 shadows. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. The strokes of sword light swung out at the same time. The sky was filled with hundreds of sword shadows at that very moment, like a sea of swords. Then it engulfed Xianxia within. But then, Xianxia gave full play to his strong consciousness powers, which combined with his divine powers flawlessly. Suddenly, walala! Strokes of black, flowing lights flashed like long spears and collided with sword lights that Jian Wushuang had cast. There was a clashing sound continuously. Jian Wushuang's 10,000 shadows were blocked by Xianxia at ease. You live up to your reputation of the 6th place on Universe God ranking list. Very impressive, but I have no time to play around with you. Jian Wushuang smirked coldly. Then his figure suddenly retreated. He turned around and plunged into the void far away. You can't run away. Xianxia let out a roar, and then there was a pair of creepy black wings that appeared from nowhere. The pair of black wings were formed entirely by Xianxia's consciousness power. His divine power spread, walala. Xianxia turned into a black flowing light and pierced the void to chase after Jian Wushuang. The speed that he was plunging at wasn't much slower than Jian Wushuang. The two figures, one running and one chasing, disappeared before everyone's eyes very soon. The speed at which Jian Wushuang and Xianxia were fighting was too fast. Moreover, the two of them were very powerful. Although there were many universe gods near them, no one could interfere. After seeing one of them chasing the other, a big portion of the universe gods followed as well. However, some of the universe gods stayed behind and chose not to follow. Too strong. Be it Jian Wushuang or Xianxia, they are not people that we can stop. Hence, it will be almost impossible to snatch white blaze fruits from them. There are so many universe gods. Even if Jian Wushuang is really killed in the end, the white blaze fruits will definitely not fall into my hands. Forget it. For the universe gods who did not give chase, most of them were shocked by the abilities of Jian Wushuang and Xianxia. However, although they did not give chase, they sent a message at once to spread the case to the outside world. In no time, countless universe gods in the cave were astonished. On the island outside the cave in the big hall, many almighties, and the experts representing the various forces, gasped continuously when they received the news. One person has obtained a total of 9 white blaze fruits. This Jian Wushuang is really greedy. This cannot be called greedy. We can only say that his luck is good. After all, how can one not take it when something good is placed in front of him? No matter what, this Jian Wushuang has now become a target of criticism of everyone, and he is also the favorite person of all the universe gods. Favorite person. Indeed, Jian Wushuang was a popular person. From the time that Wu Bei's cave had appeared to the current moment, quite a number of white blaze fruits had appeared as well. However, apart from Jian Wushuang, the luckiest person had only been able to acquire 3 white blaze fruits. However, Jian Wushuang possessed 9 white blaze fruits. Hence, it would be strange if the universe gods who did not acquire even 1 white blaze fruit were not envious of him. Lei Chao, your lineage of star has made it big this time round. A real god who was beside Lei Chao jeered. It is still too early to say this now. Although Jian Wushuang has obtained 9 white blaze fruits, we still don't know if he will be able to bring those white blaze fruits out, Lei Chao said earnestly. You're right. The real god shook his head as well. With 9 white blaze fruits, the universe gods in the cave will definitely try to kill him with all their might. Even the monsters in the top 10 of the universe god ranking list will want to kill him. Under such circumstances, it will be difficult for him to bring all 9 white blaze fruits out. If I were Jian Wushuang, I would be slightly smarter and give up a few white blaze fruits. With that, nothing would happen to me. Many experts in the big hall were having a discussion and most of them had a relaxed expression. Only Lei Chao was extremely anxious. Jian Wushuang. Lei Chao had sent a message to Jian Wushuang. Remember, if the situation is dangerous, you can give up on a few white blaze fruits. To the lineage of star, acquiring 2 or 3 white blaze fruits from this fight is considered good. We don't expect too many of them. Do not throw your life away for the white blaze fruits. I understand. Jian Wushuang nodded his head. He was very clear about that in his head. If there were no choice, he would give up what was necessary without hesitation. However, at that moment he had not reached such a state. This Xianxia is really persistent. Jian Wushuang shot a glance behind him. 10,000 miles away from him, Xianxia was flapping a pair of black wings that he had created using his power of consciousness, and he was still giving chase. Although he was unable to catch up to Jian Wushuang also found it difficult to lose him. As for the other universe gods, Jian Wushuang had lost them at the back. I have already unleashed the first stage of the secret skill of Dragon Blood. However, this is only enough to ensure that he doesn't catch up to me. To lose him completely, I would need to use the second stage of the secret skill of Dragon Blood, Jian Wushuang muttered. However, the key point was that it was not easy to use the second stage of the secret skill of Dragon Blood. After all, it would deplete a huge amount of divine power. By maintaining it for just a short period of time, he would exhaust almost all of his divine power, and even the recovery ability of the King of Venomous Worms would be unable to recover his divine power in a short amount of time. In an environment like this cave, as soon as his divine power was completely depleted, it would definitely become a disaster for him. If it's just Xianxia alone, it'll still be all right. However, the problem is, as Jian Wushuang was thinking, his eyes turned serious abruptly. He had sensed a powerful aura that had appeared within the detecting range of his soul power. That was a purple-haired young man with a stern face, and his aura was a lot more powerful than the universe gods, including Xianxia that Jian Wushuang had seen previously. That's Zidongwang. Jian Wushuang's expression turned unusually ugly. Xianxia alone was already very difficult to deal with. At that moment, Zidongwang, who was even more difficult to deal with than Xianxia, had appeared. It should be known that Zidongwang was a super monster who ranked second on the universe god ranking list, and he was only second to the god-destroying king who ranked first. Haha, looks like my luck is not too bad. Zidongwang's hearty, loud laughter reverberated across the whole horizon. His eyes had already locked onto Jian Wushuang. There was also a purple, evil aura around his body which caused his speed to become very fearsome. When he unleashed his speed, it would be slightly faster than Jian Wushuang and Xianxia's. Oh no! Jian Wushuang started to panic. He had seen Zidongwang's information thoroughly and knew very well that with his current abilities, he would be unable to compete with Zidongwang. To make matters worse, if Zidongwang and Xianxia were to team up, he would have no choice but to escape shamefully. Zidongwang. Jian Wushuang started to speak. Let's do a trade. If I give you 3 white blaze fruits, you will leave straight away. Deal? 3 fruits. Zidongwang was astonished. He would be given 3 white blaze fruits if he left. Hence, Jian Wushuang could be said to be very generous. Jian Wushuang, you are smart. However, what I want is not merely 3 but 6 white blaze fruits. If you agree to this, I will leave straight away, Zidongwang said loudly. 6 fruits? Zidongwang, you are too greedy. Jian Wushuang's eyes turned cold. He had finally acquired 9 white blaze fruits after risking his life in Wu Bei's cave. At that moment, Zidongwang didn't need to do anything but leave. However, for that, he asked for 6 white blaze fruits. This was not just greedy, it was absolutely crazy. No deal? Then don't blame me. Zidongwang laughed coldly. The distance between him and Jian Wushuang was becoming shorter. Zidongwang, Jian Wushuang is not weak. If you don't team up with me, you alone might be unable to kill him. Xianxia's voice could be heard abruptly. Xianxia, what are you trying to say? Zidongwang looked over. Very simple. If you and I team up, this Jian Wushuang will die for sure. After that, the 9 white blaze fruits shall be equally split between us. At the very least, you would get 5 and I would give 4, Xianxia said. Humph, I have already said. I want 6 white blaze fruits. Zidongwang bellowed. You are really unreasonable. 6 white blaze fruits it shall be then, but give me the 3 remaining white blaze fruits, Xianxia said. No problem. Zidongwang nodded his head. The 2 experts had reached a consensus. Jian Wushuang, you can't escape. Die! Zidongwang and Xianxia had soaring murderous intentions, and Zidongwang was constantly approaching Jian Wushuang. Big trouble. Jian Wushuang's eyebrows were tightly knitted, but suddenly, ha! Jian Wushuang's expression changed and there was delight in his eyes. He could clearly feel that in the void within 10,000 miles of him was a figure in a white robe flying over. Through his soul power, he could see the features of the figure in white robe clearly. It's him. Jian Wushuang was delighted and he immediately switched directions without hesitation. He plunged towards the figure in the white robe. Very soon, he appeared before the figure in white robe. Ha! Duan Lingfeng, long time no see. Jian Wushuang laughed heartily. Duan Wushuang, it's really you. The man in the white robe who carried a saber on his back lifted his head to look at Jian Wushuang. Then, the corners of his lips lifted into a smile too. Duan Lingfeng. He was a genius that Jian Wushuang had met in the dangerous ancient star sea on his way to the 10 cultivation sanctuaries back then, and they were quite close. Back in ancient star sea, Jian Wushuang had saved the two people that Duan Lingfeng was escorting while Duan Lingfeng had forces with Jian Wushuang to resolve Jian Wushuang's crisis once. They had given a favor from one to another and they were both geniuses. Hence, they appreciated one another. After they passed through ancient star sea, they parted ways as they had their own agendas. After a few thousand years, Jian Wushuang never thought that he would meet Duan Lingfeng again in Wu Bei's cave. And they happened to meet at a time when he needed help. You need help. Duan Lingfeng stood there with a faint smile. He had already noticed the existence of Zi Dongwang and Xianxia from behind. Of course I do. Jian Wushuang broke into a smile and he stopped next to Duan Lingfeng. The second place on Universe God ranking list, Zi Dongwang, and the sixth place on Universe God ranking list, Xianxia. Duan Lingfeng fixed his gaze on the two people who were chasing them from afar. There was light glistening in his eyes, and at the very next moment, rumble! A terrifying sword intention suddenly erupted and soared up above ninth heaven. The surrounding heaven and earth was drowned in a sea of sword intention. Jian Wushuang stood next to Duan Lingfeng. He was clear about the feeling of the sword intention and his pupils contracted. This bolt of sword intention. I see. Jian Wushuang understood then. Zi Dongwang and Xianxia who were chasing them suddenly stopped. Such strong sword intention. This bolt of sword intention seems to be able to tear everything down in heaven and earth. It struck fear into me. Zi Dongwang creased his eyebrows as he looked over at Duan Lingfeng. White-robed, carrying a saber on his back. A strong sword intention. Zi Dongwang and Xianxia immediately knew the person's identity. You're the white-robed swordsman on the third place on Universe God ranking list? Zi Dongwang sounded cold. You are the one who defeated demon girl Ling Luo? Xianxia's face grew unusually solemn. The birth of Wu Bei's cave had led to a fight and massacre among countless universe gods. There were also many unfamiliar experts who got listed on Universe God ranking list. Among the unfamiliar experts, the mysterious white-robed swordsman was the strongest. He defeated demon girl Ling Luo head-on and got listed on the third place on Universe God ranking list, right behind God-destroying King and Zi Dongwang. However, it had been a while since the white-robed swordsman had defeated Ling Luo, and no one knew his real name. Even on Universe God ranking list, he was known as the white-robed swordsman. Then, the white-robed swordsman appeared before them in person. The third place on Universe God ranking list, Duan Lingfeng. That's really impressive, Jian Wushuang teased. He knew that Duan Lingfeng was a true genius back when they were at Ancient Star Sea, and even King of Venomous Worms admired him. After a few thousand years, Duan Lingfeng's power had obviously improved a lot more. Aren't you in the fifth place yourself? Duan Lingfeng smiled faintly. One should know that when he first met Jian Wushuang at Ancient Star Sea, although Jian Wushuang had showed shocking talent, his wasn't strong in power. Back then, Jian Wushuang was only a universe god in the first heaven. But then, he was one of the top few among all universe gods in eternal chaotic world. In terms of improvement speed, Jian Wushuang was slightly faster than he was. White-robed swordsman, the one that we want to fight is Jian Wushuang. It has nothing to do with you. If you want the white blaze fruit, wait until we kill Jian Wushuang and we will share them with you. What do you think? Zi Dongwang looked at Duan Lingfeng and said. Duan Lingfeng looked at Zi Dongwang coldly. Firstly, I am not interested in the white blaze fruit. I came to the cave simply to fight with other experts. Secondly, Jian Wushuang is my friend. Ever since Cultivation, I have not had many friends but Jian Wushuang in one of them. If you want to kill him, It means that you want to kill me. The moment he said that, Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows and he felt touched. But Zi Dongwang and Xianju's faces grew grave. It seems like a lost cause. We can only fight. Zi Dongwang said in a low voice. You want to fight? Who's afraid? Jian Wushuang smiled faintly, while Blood Mountain's sword in his hands quivered vigorously. Previously, it had been only him alone. He could only run away when he was fighting against Zi Dongwang and Xianju. But then, he had Duan Lingfeng's assistance. He wasn't afraid of the two of them. I only came here with the intention to fight against experts. Xianju is only in the 6th place on the Universe God ranking list. I am not interested in him. My opponent will be Zi Dongwang, Duan Lingfeng said. If so, I shall leave Zi Dongwang to you and I shall take care of Xianju, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Duan Lingfeng nodded faintly. After they came to a mutual understanding, swoosh, Duan Lingfeng took action first. Rumble. A terrifying sword intention had flooded into the entire universe. Duan Lingfeng's figure turned illusionary and appeared before Zi Dongwang, while the saber behind his back was instantly out of the scabbard. The 11th. Heaven and earth grew dim. In the boundless darkness, a brilliant crimson sword light suddenly descended. Looking at the crimson sword light, even Zi Dongwang's pupils shrunk. He immediately brought out his divine power and concentrated on his palms. He was wearing a pair of purple gloves and there was purple light soaring up into the sky. Purple glory sky collapse. Hong! A terrifying power suddenly exploded. As Duan Lingfeng was fighting with Zi Dongwang, Jian Wushuang moved too. Xianju, during the earlier fight, both you and I had scruples. Now, let's fight again. Jian Wushuang's voice reverberated. Humph! Who is afraid? I happen to want to take back my ranking, 5th place on the Universe God ranking list. It's mine. Xianju was raging in anger. A fierce consciousness swept out and suddenly became 2 tall headless warriors before him. Swoosh! Swoosh! The 2 headless warriors held long spears in their hands while they stepped in the void and charged towards Jian Wushuang. Boom! Boom! 2 shocking noises could be heard. The 2 headless soldiers had already appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. They then extended their long spears. His power was impressive. Humph! You're not the only one who knows consciousness attacks. Jian Wushuang gave a cold humph. A huge amount of soul power burst forth and a giant golden divine ape rose up. Similarly, the golden divine ape carried a long sword. With a shrill roar, it moved toward the 2 headless soldiers. Piss off! The long sword swept past the area rashly. As the stroke contained a shocking amount of strength, it pushed back the 2 headless soldiers at the same time. After that, the golden divine ape took 1 step and plunged toward Xianju. If 2 headless soldiers are unable to stop you, how about 3? Xianju's eyes turned cold and gloomy. After his speech, another headless soldier appeared in the void in front of him. In addition to the 2 headless soldiers previously, there were a total of 3 headless soldiers. Rumble! The 3 headless soldiers gave off amazing power and surrounded Jian Wushuang's golden divine ape. They then attacked at the same time and gave Jian Wushuang more pressure. This Xianju is really powerful. Jian Wushuang could not help but exclaim. It should be known that every headless soldier had the fighting capabilities of a real god. Hence, 3 headless soldiers were equivalent to 3 real gods teaming up, which put Jian Wushuang under a lot of pressure. At that moment, haha! This place is really lively. Laughter could be heard and a silver-armored young man could be seen speeding over from a distance away. Around this battlefield, there were a few universe gods present. However, those universe gods were observing from a distance and they did not dare to go over. After all, the ones fighting were the monsters in the top 10 of the universe god ranking list. Without sufficient power, they wouldn't dare to participate in such a fight. And at that very moment, the silver-armored young man plunged over fearlessly. Naturally, he had absolute confidence in his own abilities. It's universe god Lu Ying. Jian Wushuang's eyes could not help but narrow. Lu Ying. Xianju also looked toward him. Universe god Lu Ying was ranked 7th in the universe god ranking list. which was just after Jian Wushuang and Xianju. By including Duan Lingfeng and Zidong Wang, who were by the side, out of the 10 monsters who were in the top 10 of the Universe God ranking list, 5 of them were present. Lu Ying, you must be here for the white blaze fruit, right? Xianju spoke. Of course. Universe God Lu Ying laughed. Since that's the case, you and I should team up and kill this Jian Wushuang. As for the 9 white blaze fruits that he has, we shall split them among us after killing him. Deal? Xianju said. All right. Universe God Lu Ying nodded his head without hesitation. At that moment, everyone in the cave knew that Jian Wushuang alone possessed 9 white blaze fruits. Hence, Universe God Lu Yang showed himself since his objective was also Jian Wushuang. Let's do it. Kill. Xianju was filled with murderous intent. Universe God Lu Yang also transformed into a silver, fluttering light and charged into the battlefield like lightning. Another one. Humph. Jian Wushuang's face turned cold. However, he was not fearful in the slightest bit. With a shift of his body, 18 shadows appeared immediately. His body also became abnormal. Haha. Jian Wushuang, the experts on the higher end of the Vientiane Tower believed that your martial art motion was number 1 among the universe gods. However, I, Lu Ying, am the first person to be dissatisfied with that. Today, I wish to see exactly how impressive your martial art motion is. Universe God Lu Yang gave a loud laugh. With a change of the silver, fluttering light that he had transformed into, the light transformed into many layers and countless silver, fragmentary shadows appeared in the universe. These shadows were also extremely strange. Martial art motion was what Universe God Lu Yang was the most proficient in. Before Jian Wushuang appeared, he was recognized as the number 1 among the universe gods in terms of martial art motion. At that moment, he had come across Jian Wushuang. Firstly, he wished to get the white blaze fruits from Jian Wushuang. Secondly, he wished to have a showdown with Jian Wushuang. Bring it on. Jian Wushuang's eyes shone with harsh light. His body movements bypassed the small gaps between the 3 headless soldiers easily, and he headed toward the layers of silver light. He attacked with his blood mountain sword abruptly, and the golden divine ape which shrouded his body also launched an attack. As for Universe God Lu Ying, his hands were each carrying a big, silver hammer, and he attacked with lightning speed. Bump, 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 bump. Intense sounds of thunder could be heard continuously. Initially, the sounds of collision had come from one part of the void. However, in the next moment it came from tens of miles away from the ground, and this opened up a big hole in the ground. After that, the sound came from a mountain, and the mountain had also split open. It was too fast. Their movement speed was too fast, and their martial art motion was also extremely strange. Among the universe gods who were observing the battle from a distance, most of them revealed a shocked expression. They were totally unable to see Jian Wushuang and universe god Lu Ying's figure clearly. What they could see was the strange golden, fragmentary shadow left behind by the golden divine ape that shrouded Jian Wushuang's body. However, as number 6 on the universe god ranking list, Xianju could see everything clearly. Die! Jian Wushuang and universe god Lu Ying had just clashed with one another head-on once. All of a sudden, they heard explosive sounds near them. The 3 big, headless soldiers had already appeared beside Jian Wushuang, and the 3 long spears headed toward him at the same time. Humph, although your headless soldiers are powerful, their bodies are too big and they are too clumsy. Therefore, they are unable to touch me. Jian Wushuang laughed disdainfully. With a strange movement of his body, he circled around the 3 headless soldiers easily. The long spears of the 3 headless soldiers were totally unable to touch Jian Wushuang's clothes. Jian Wushuang was standing together with universe god Lu Ying like before. Jian Wushuang, you dare to underestimate me? Xianju's eyes were filled with flames of fury. After that, the 3 headless soldiers swung their arms with great strength. The long spears on their hands were thrown out at once, and they aimed at Jian Wushuang. The speed of throwing was a lot faster than the moving speed of the 3 headless soldiers. While Jian Wushuang was still fighting with universe god Lu Ying, the 3 long spears were thrown with lightning speed. What? Jian Wushuang's expression changed. His body then writhed strangely and he avoided the paths of the 3 spears. However, the moment he avoided the long spears, Universe God Lu Ying found an opening. "Ha-ha! Jian Wushuang, eat my hammer attack." Universe God Lu Ying was laughing loudly. At the same time, both his hands held a big hammer. Meteor Heavenly Hammer. Boom! A silver thunderbolt descended with lightning speed abruptly. Faced with the hammer attack, Jian Wushuang was unable to dodge. Moreover, he had also failed to use his sword principles in time to block the attack. Hence, he could only use the Blood Mountain sword to block. Bam! With a loud noise, Jian Wushuang's body was sent flying to the ground like a meteorite. In the end, he crashed into the ground, creating a big hole. However, not long after the big hole appeared, an enormous amount of crimson flames burst forth abruptly. The crimson flames had an astonishing temperature which burnt the ground to ashes. At the core of the crimson flames, a figure appeared. It was Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang just then was like an emperor of the Sea of Fire. Under my meteor heavenly hammer, he wasn't injured at all? Universe God Lu Ying floated in the void as he looked at Jian Wushuang. He noticed that Jian Wushuang's, who was crowned among the crimson sea of fire at that very moment, aura had grown even stronger than before. Kill! Among the crimson sea of fire, a ghostly figure soared up and 18 shadows were cast simultaneously. 10,000 shadows. Jian Wushuang wielded his sword at lightning speed. The sword lights crossed wantonly and flooded in to engulf Universe God Lu Ying. "Ha-ha! Come on!" Universe God Lu Ying let out a burst of hearty laughter and his aura started churning. The pair of huge silver hammers burst out silver light. Suddenly, it continuously bombarded him with attacks. Bang! 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 As they fought in madness, there were countless shadows left in the void. Jian Wushuang's speed and strength are much better than before? Universe God Lu Ying's pupils contracted. Previously, when he was fighting against Jian Wushuang head-on, they had been evenly matched. However, when Jian Wushuang had performed Scarlet Kingdom, he had felt the increase in pressure. Especially in terms of martial art motion, Jian Wushuang was really one notch faster. "Lu Ying, step aside." There was suddenly a deep voice. Universe God Lu Ying didn't hesitate but retreated immediately from the silver flowing light. Jian Wushuang quickly lifted his head, and he instantly noticed Xianxia, who had burst out a terrifying aura from afar. "Jian Wushuang, try to take this." Xianxia's face was distorted in agony. Before him, it was overcast with black fog. The entire heaven and earth were covered in boundless darkness. The black fog was like widely opened mouths that were going to swallow Jian Wushuang. The coverage of the black fog was too huge and Jian Wushuang had no way to shake it off. Die! 9 weight destruction. Rumble. A terrifying consciousness charged towards Jian Wushuang. The consciousness attack was like a huge millstone that was crushing Jian Wushuang without any pattern. Plus, there wasn't only one millstone but there was a total of 9 millstones and one was stronger than the others. It was Xianxia's strongest move, 9 weight destruction. Jian Wushuang looked stony-faced and the huge dark tortoise had already surfaced. Then one millstone after another hit his body. Bang! 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 The former 8 attacks, Jian Wushuang had forcefully withstood them with his strong yet tenacious soul power. In the 9th strike, which was the last strike, the most terrifying strike of consciousness crushed over. Ah! Jian Wushuang let out a shrill scream at the hit. He felt an unprecedented sharp pain in his soul, and it was as though his head was going to explode. However, the sharp pain only continued for a short while before it subsided. Jian Wushuang was still standing in the void, but his face was red and his body was covered in sweat. He lifted his head again after a good while. He then smirked coldly. "Xianxia, your consciousness attack is really scary, but it's a pity that it can't kill me." Xianxia remained silent and his face grew grave. "I performed 9 weight destruction with my all. Even one with ordinary real god's consciousness strength would find it hard to withstand, but Jian Wushuang withstood it forcefully. His consciousness is this strong." But he didn't know that Jian Wushuang's consciousness couldn't be actually considered as strong. It was merely capped at the limit of a universe god. He had yet to reach real god's level. However, Jian Wushuang's consciousness had already transformed into soul long ago, and his soul power was at a much higher level and much more tenacious by a few folds compared to consciousness. His soul power was especially greater in terms of its tenacity. Xianxia's technique could kill an ordinary real god's consciousness, but it couldn't kill Jian Wushuang's soul, which was only at the level of the limit of a universe god. Xianxia, universe god Luing, what other techniques do you have? Use them all. Jian Wushuang's imposing manner had recovered to its peak again. His gaze was cold as he glanced. Xianxia and universe god Luing were standing side by side as their eyebrows tightly knitted. Luing, I've performed my strongest unique skill, but I still can't kill him. How about you? Do you have any other techniques? Xianxia asked. I do have it, but even if I perform it, it won't kill him. Universe god Luing shook his head and replied. We're in trouble. Xianxia and universe god Luing went silent. Just then, Hong! A terrifying roar suddenly burst into the void not too far away. At the same time, there were two bolts of earth-shattering power that spread. The two bolts of power struck fear into both Xianxia and universe god Luing. Xianxia and universe god Luing immediately looked towards the other side of the battlefield. Their pupils contracted the moment they saw the scene. On the battlefield, Duan Lingfeng and Zi Dongwang had already separated. However, Zi Dongwang at that moment, his hair was messy. He looked pale and there was even blood at the corners of his lips. He was obviously in a fix. Duan Lingfeng, on the other hand, his status was still at his peak and his aura was soaring into high sky. He was obviously in a better position than Zi Dongwang. Zi Dongwang, you who are on the second place on Universe God ranking list, your power is only at such level? A cold voice was heard from Duan Lingfeng and it reverberated through the universe. Bastard! Zi Dongwang clenched his teeth, but he could do nothing about it. Xianxia and Universe God Luing was at a loss for words. The scene before them was obvious. In the earlier battle, the one at a disadvantage was Zi Dongwang. But he was on the second place on Universe God ranking list. Xianxia, Luing, they two of you joined forces but couldn't kill Jian Wushuang? Zi Dongwang noticed the outcome on the other side too and immediately reprimanded. Xianxia and Universe God Luing exchanged a look. Both of them felt bitter in their hearts. Damn it! Zi Dongwang cursed and glared at Jian Wushuang and Duan Lingfeng. Let's go! Zi Dongwang left directly while Xianxia and Universe God Luing didn't stay either but left immediately. Although the three of them had joined forces, they obviously couldn't do anything about the teaming up of Jian Wushuang and Duan Lingfeng. Hence, they could only leave. As the three of them walked away, the shocking battle that had involved 5 universe gods in the top 10 on Universe God ranking list finally ended. Jian Wushuang, are you okay? Duan Lingfeng kept his saber and appeared before Jian Wushuang. I'm okay. Jian Wushuang smiled faintly and said, Duan Lingfeng, congratulations. You defeated Zi Dongwang. From the looks of it, on the latest Universe God ranking list that Vientiane Tower just released, you could be in the second place. I merely have the upper hand by a slight bit. If I really want to defeat him, I'm still a bit short. Duan Lingfeng shook his head. He was really stronger than Zi Dongwang, but not by much. Regardless, thank you once again. I owe you one, Jian Wushuang said with a smile.